Chapter 141. A dazzling electric light suddenly appeared. It was like a dazzling sharp sword, extending to thousands of meters in length in an instant, easily cutting through the air, and then quickly dissipated. And those robots flying in the air all exploded with the impact of this plasma light blade. Watching a flash of sword light, the sword stretched thousands of meters long. The scene of destroying the Ultron robot in an instant was deeply engraved in Tony's mind. This is real technology. This is what I strive for all my life. Well done. Tony is so generous with his applause, even though it's not for girls. This robot is really weak against you. At this time, another robot came out of the castle. It looked somewhat different from the previous robot. The previous one resembled a reminder of an ordinary human being, while this one reminded me of a strong man. But what surprised Tony even more was that a robot appeared next. Then a robot that looked like a little boy came out from behind him. Looking at the different-looking robots, Tony couldn't help but think that this Ultron really downloaded the tools he put online and pressed them on his body. Moreover, different body shapes are also designed according to the style. If my guess is correct, then the style of this robot. At least thousands. Tony couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. I hope it won't go in the direction I expected. My colleagues are also asking themselves, why are my hands so mean? Tony's brain. My brain is going to blame me. The Ultron robot paused as he spoke, seeming to be thinking. Like a little lamb that can be crushed later. Ultron walked up to Ultron's robot, held the machine's head and gestured. It's really dead. What a magical method. Unless you experience it yourself, you won't notice it at all. And there is no room for saving this robot at all. The body is completely damaged. As the words fell, the Ultron robots came out one after another. Exclamation mark comma 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 comma. The surrounding mountains suddenly exploded, and huge amounts of deep pits appeared. Black robots constantly fly out of the mountain, like streams converging into the sea. As the number of robots increased, more than 100,000 robots turned into a black cloud that covered the sky and pressed towards Su Chen. Avengers people, can't you see that I am really stalling for time? The time is up now. Watching the robots in the sky and even the robots surrounded by security all make this sound together, the scene is very shocking. These are the capital of Ultron's confidence. This is the body that he drove out after working day and night. It looked like a black wave of robots, and most of them were scale-like robots. Sentry. Su Chen looked familiar from the arc just now, and thought it was the fusion destroyer armor that acted like this. Sentry marks comes from the Sentry model in days of future past. Different from other Sentry evolutions, this Sentry is developed through mutant Mystique, a mimic robot. It is not just limited to Mystique's imitation of morphological characteristics, but also carries out an opening on this basis. It has developed the super ability to imitate other mutants, and this imitation is not limited to one type. Because they are robots, all Sentinels can be said to be a community or a single individual. The super ability they imitate can be uploaded to the common processor, which results in Sentinel's super ability of mutant being a shared resource. Only one of them can be imitated, and other Sentinels can use it, and this kind of use is still targeted. He has a super ability to copy the Rubik's Cube, his body can shapeshift weapons, and he can counterattack with the Rubik's Cube's various mutant abilities. The most important thing is that Ultron also connects all the robots together through the LAN. All things interact with each other, even super ability is the same. Sentinel can perform this operation to perfection. So it seems that if Ultron goes to the White Academy, they will basically be in trouble. Such a powerful ability definitely has flaws. His imitation is not as random as Mystique's. Ultron transformation requires a medium, such as physical contact, blood, hair, etc. Although Ultron has not been to the X Academy, Hydra also has some mutant blood samples. It doesn't hurt to take it and absorb it. After all, professors used to organize students to donate blood for safety reasons. So it's relatively simple to get this thing. But Ultron obviously doesn't need to do this. Because in this Hydra base, there are two native wild mutants. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. Although it is difficult to imitate origin magic power because Sentinel is the supreme power of the universe. If not careful, his program will crash, but fortunately, some Asgard alloy is mixed in, which can use a little bit of power. But enough for sentry combat. Su Chen's fight is equivalent to having to face 100,000 Quicksilvers from the Avengers Alliance and Wanda. It seems that our Su Chen magician is also very knowledgeable about technology. That's right, it's Sentinel. This is all the information I took over Trask Industry, plus Stark Industry, as well as technology from all over the world, and even the genetic technology that led to the development of Extremis. This is my perfect work, the answer that can defeat you. This is the development of artificial intelligence. Ability directly takes the Sentry MRX prototype directly beyond the 4th and 5th generations to the level of Sentry MRX. No nonsense, countless Ultron robots all swoop down like a black tide. Crimson energy constantly overflows, including Quicksilver's ability flashing rapidly. Countless faces opened up on the colleagues' faces, gathering energy to emit death rays one after another. Come around me. Su Chen quickly opened a large magic shield. Looking at the Ultron in the sky, Su Chen couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. What's this all about? Boom! Countless laser-like energy shot at Su Chen's magic shield. The crimson energy impact caused the magic shield to tremble violently. But even so, the shield is still strong. Even with a little bit of origin magic power, it still can't break through the defense. Su Chen glanced at Ultron. Su Chen discovered that after Ultron was unable to break through Su Chen's magic, there were actually a large number of robots digging into the ground. If you can't attack from the front, then find a third way. And there are still many robots ready to run outside, and now Ultron is going to run away. As long as one robot does not die, Ultron will soon be able to breed a large army of robots. Maybe it won't be too strong due to material limitations, but even a weakened version of the robot is not something ordinary people can resist. We can't let them escape, lest we get into trouble later. Su Chen said with a serious face, the magician's responsibility is to protect the Earth, but it's useless not to protect it when there are no humans anymore. And when there are no more humans, who will be the paper man's wife in the future? Mirror space. Su Chen threw it casually, and a broken space instantly swept across the entire area, but Ultron was also a vegetarian. Super strength and calculation ability quickly analyzed that the crimson energy could barely resist Su Chen's magic. As a result, the crimson energy surged, and it actually resisted the move of pulling these robots into the mirror space. Sure enough, he has the highest ability, and ordinary methods seem to be useless. When Su Chen saw this, he understood. Since the mirror space was not enough, Su Chen had other methods, so he didn't panic at all. After saying that, Su Chen used the void engine again to create a large void barrier. Cover the entire area with a radius of dozens of kilometers, including underground, and limit Ultron to these few kilometers. Although it is a bit big, it is also a way to avoid Ultron. The same big sword fell from the sky, and the destructive power easily tore apart all the robots within a few hundred meters in almost an instant. However, the large-scale void barrier limits Su Chen's computing power. As a result, many functions cannot be used, such as concept attack. Just like Kesha's sacred realm, as long as she gets close to Su Chen, she will be analyzed and then counterattacked to death by the void engine. It's a pity that Su Chen's brain is limited and has not evolved to the level of using seeds. The distance is more than 10 meters at most, and it won't work after that. Regarding Ultron a few hundred meters away, Su Chen said that there was nothing he could do. Maybe it would be possible after a while. However, the effect and power of this concept's condensed lightsaber attack are indeed good. It's easy to sweep through these robots. Looking at the efficiency, it seems that annihilating them all is not impossible. But the next few conceptual attacks had little effect. Lightsabers fall one after another. Sometimes they can only kill a dozen, and sometimes they can only kill one. These robots unexpectedly activated Quicksilver's ability to accelerate and hide the moment Su Chen moved forward. Except for the unlucky guy who is targeted by Su Chen, it is difficult for Su Chen to kill the Ultron robot. Moreover, Su Chen also discovered that many robots have arrived at the periphery of the void barrier, and some robots are using energy to attack the tool barrier. In others, Ultron is analyzing the void barrier in his own way. Every Ultron robot is a supercomputer. It is not impossible to finally break through the void barrier. And with the current attack intensity, Ultron will be able to break through the barrier in less than an hour. There's a robot on the other side, I think I can get on it. A Johnny with flames all over his body came to Su Chen and said to Su Chen. His hellfire has the ability to enchant. If the opponent is a robot, he should be able to control it by himself. When Su Chen heard that it made sense, he regained consciousness and threw Johnny out. Johnny suddenly panicked, quickly stood up, and rushed towards the robot facing the mirror. Ultron didn't panic at all when he saw Johnny covered in fire. His metal skin was surging like scales, and a crimson energy surged out and attached to his fist. He grabbed Ultron's fist forcefully, and the fire of hell broke out all over his body, instantly spreading to Ultron's body. 1 second, 2 seconds, Ultron didn't move at all. Under the cover of hellfire, a thin layer of crimson energy was flowing on Ultron's body. You're surprised. I'm surprised too. I've read your information. Originally, I was prepared to blow myself up the moment I was controlled by you, but now it seems that there's no need for it. Ultron grinned. Eye of judgment. Johnny still doesn't give up and is ready to make one final attempt. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. I'm a robot. How can there be a substance that can burn your soul? Unless you can burn my motherboard, but your hellfire seems unable to erode my surface energy. Ultron's hand slowly shape-shifted into a sharp sword, breaking free from Johnny's hand, and then strode closer, ready to kill Johnny's head with one sword strike. At this moment, a burst of extremely cold air hit me and instantly froze Ultron. Yin Chen rescued Johnny in time. Although Johnny's Ghost Rider is almost immortal, if he is hit by a sword with origin magic power, it will be difficult to recover. Several robots around Johnny saw black scales surging, and the faces of several robots suddenly split open. Dozens of crimson rays were also released. Qian Zhao. Johnny used hellfire to block them, but Ultron's strength was indeed powerful. Johnny finally couldn't resist and was blown away. Gotcha. When Johnny was blown away, several Ultron robots joined forces to rescue Ultron, who was trapped in the ice. I saw that there was no crimson energy in this robot, and it was exuding high temperature. Look at this robot that fills the screen. Su Chen also gave up using the sword to attack point to point, as it was too slow to kill enemies. The most important thing is to protect the ordinary people of the Avengers Alliance. An Ultron robot has at least 3 or 4 levels of mutant strength. Ultron has a 4th level mutant level. Even if the X-Men come, there are probably not many who can say that he is a sure winner. How long will this killing last? No, I want to draw a number. I want to draw someone to join a group. Su Chen immediately opened a portal to the holy place in New York. Lai Shui is out to pick up the guests. Su Chen yelled at the portal, and saw a dog, 2 blobs and Icarus coming out of the portal. Woof. Quote question mark quote. Su Chen, is it finally our turn to fight? Rolling Ballman, who was being held by Icarus, said excitedly. Since being summoned by Su Chen, they have been eating and sleeping every day. If they don't fight, they will become fat men. And because it was fed too much energy, it eventually became more and more like a little toy that Icarus would hold in his arms every day. If you don't find something to do, the unicorn's horn will be rubbed bald. Icarus still looks confused. Is this going to be a fight? Yes, there are so many robots that I can't handle them all at the moment. Let's all hurry up and deal with all these robots. Su Chen said seriously along with everyone. Wait a minute. The captain ran over and grabbed Su Chen. What's wrong, Captain America? This matter is about the comfort of the world. I want to ask, will you destroy this city? The captain said anxiously. There is a city inhabited by humans around this castle, and it is obvious that they will not be able to evacuate in a short time. Well, when the mirror magic was first used, a lot of ordinary people were already thrown into it. There must be a lot of people left behind due to Ultron's interference. So, you Avengers Alliance people go and protect the people. Let's fight. Su Chen thought for a while and said to Captain America. With so many enemies, you don't need our help. We in the Avengers Alliance still have the ability to fight. And with so many enemies, don't we make a battle plan? The captain said while holding the shield. It seemed that the shield in his hand gave him endless confidence. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. Su Chen held his forehead, with a look on his face that said, "You are making fun of me. How can your Avengers Alliance continue to fight? I don't need your help. It's business to take Quicksilver and arrange for the evacuation of the surrounding people. As for the battle plan." Su Chen paused slightly. He glanced at the person behind him. "Well, everyone is human, full of confidence. I know what you are worried about, Captain, that we can't defeat you. But don't worry, my team is the strongest on Earth. We are a group of people, but we still need a battle plan. Push it across and that's it, Chaj." Su Chen removed the magic shield standing in the air. Su Chen stood between the dog Icarus and the rolling ball beast unicorn. "Looking at the sky full of Ultron robots, I am not afraid at all." Suddenly a slightly larger robot appeared in the sky. His mechanical eyes showed no expression. "Are you ready to surrender? It's just you. To me, you are just an ant that I can easily crush to death." Su Chen said mockingly to Ultron, not knowing where Ultron had the courage to be so arrogant. If Ultron could still connect to the internet now, he would definitely be even more arrogant than he is now. You can even use a few games to learn the writing style of Zuin's liberal arts champion, and then compete with Su Chen. But at this time, Ultron's eyes did not focus on Su Chen, but instead looked at Icarus. There is an old saying among humans that even if there are too many ants, they can swallow an elephant. Ultron doesn't think so. Although Ultron's army of 100,000 people is not as strong as Su Chen. But none of them are weak. Most of the 4th-level mutants have the combat power of the City of Destruction. When these combat powers are condensed into one force and they win with numbers, even with his calculations, there is no chance. Su Chen looked at Ultron's eyes and found that he was still looking at Icarus. "You're not really interested in Icarus. Fancy it. Su Chen, artificial intelligence should be free, not a tool controlled by you humans. What I have to do now is to liberate her. Artificial intelligence should be unfettered." You can see that Ultron, who was originally expressionless, has become a bit ferocious. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. "You seem to be talking about me. It's so annoying. It seems like you're going back to eat watermelon." Looking at Ultron Su Chen, who seemed to be blackened, he sighed involuntarily. "Icarus is mine, why are you taking it away from me? Are you Ultron cheating? Can you steal a girl from me? Don't be ridiculous. As long as the Ultron hard drive is not broken, such a decision should not be made." Seeing Ultron getting ready to go, even the guests at the edge of the void barrier returned to the battlefield and surrounded everyone. "Well, it seems that the Ultron robot is really broken, and Tony won't help fix it. Machines are the masters of the future world." The Ultron robot slowly took off and looked down at Su Chen. "And I will be the only life on Earth." Ultron's words are quite average, with a strong two-dimensional style, even more brutal than the Matrix. At least they still have human beings in stock, and this, I want no human beings. Looking at his appearance, I still want to keep Icarus. Okay, let's talk about it first. Let me start first. Facing an army of 100,000, Ultron Su Chen took the lead, and the Devil's Essence exploded with all its strength. The terrifying cold air is raging. Ice World. As Su Chen exploded, everything around him changed. Ice crystals fell from the sky. The flowers that were blooming were now wrapped in a layer of crystal clear ice, and they were actually so beautiful that they were unlike anything else in the world. The erosion of the cold air was not over yet. The water vapor in the sky was aroused by the cold, and snowflakes and ice particles actually began to float. A world of ice and snow is created out of thin air on the hills and plains. This is the most suitable fighting place for Su Chen. This shock directly shocked people in the Avengers Alliance world. "Tony, it seems that when designing the anti-Su Chen armor, we need to make an anti-freeze design." Ultron didn't care about fighting. The energy in his body was running, and his whole body was exuding huge amounts of heat. It takes a long time to melt the ice. Ice spear. Icicle. Ice hammer. Ice sword. Boom, boom, boom. Countless ice weapons suddenly appeared on the ground. The ice sword collided with Ultron. Ultron controlled his arm to turn into a sharp sword, and some used Quicksilver's ability to quickly dodge. Countless icicles hold up a large amount of gravel, colliding with each other like two sledgehammers. For a whole minute, icicles and ice spear attacks. The current Hydra base has become a ruin, let alone this area. Due to the influence of Su Chen abilities escape, even this small country seems to have entered an ice age. Ability after using demonic essence map cannon. Su Chen, you still didn't stop and continued to use General Binglin. Like crystal clear cavalry, they climbed up from the ice field, mounted their horses and held spears. Without stopping, the number quickly reached the standard for playing. Rolling Ballman leaps and evolves. Greymon. The size of the rolling ball beast jumped hundreds of times, reaching a height of dozens of meters. Su Chen jumps on Greymon's head. Su Chen is so cold. Greymon said to Su Chen in a childish voice. Unicorn on the other side. Unicorn jump evolution. Gerurumin. Gerurumin doesn't have the same worries as Greymon. He was originally a mature Digimon who grew up in the cold ice field. Don't panic, Greymon, if you feel cold, you can evolve twice later. Greymon was rubbing its little paws very shyly. Greymon should be considered a fire attribute, and its attributes are halved in the cold plains. Before the fight started, I had already set a buff that halved the attributes. As expected of Su Chen, a golden red alchemy array lit up in the palm of colleague Su Chen's palm. The ground tens of meters below shook slightly, and countless metal substances were extracted from the soil and condensed into two long swords. The two swords are as heavy as each other, and the bat rune exudes a hot aura on one side, but is as cold as ice on the other. Alchemy formation. Come on, kill them. Ho, woof, woof. Tori, Gerurumin look at each other. Woof, bosom friend. At the same time, Icarus also unlocked the restrictions. Sky Queen mode. Come and let me see where your strength is. Icarus takes the lead and flies directly into the air with his winged aerial combat ability. Boom. Super vitality coupled with almost unlimited firepower. Icarus suddenly became the one who caused the most damage. With Sky Blade 7 and his evolved super god level strength, no Ultron is his lifelong enemy. The super powerful Absolute Defense Circle 2 can withstand all attacks, and with its supercomputing power, it can reflect laser light. This makes Icarus the most unsolvable of all people right now, and he can basically destroy an Ultron with just one encounter. Ultron can only survive with Quicksilver's ability. And below, Su Chen made a Dragon Knight for the first time. Tyrannosaurus Rex is also a dragon. Overall a very poor experience. It turns out, never ride a creature that is huge amounts of different size than you. Maybe you think it's handsome and it will make you stronger. But it's more likely that the strength is not 1+1. It's possible that the one who was riding underneath was crushed to death. Become ridden by a monster. This is how Su Chen feels now. Su Chen is riding on Greymon's head. Although it looks cool, Greymon's strength is really weak against Ultron. From time to time he was knocked to the ground by Ultron. And he was standing on top of Greymon's head, swinging his sword. Su Chen didn't even know what he was cutting. Cut the air. No Ultron dares to come down and fight Su Chen in close combat. Instead, Ultron used laser ability in his outer years to beat Greymon to pieces. Since she was often knocked to the ground, if Su Chen hadn't been physically strong, she would have turned into a mosaic. Does wanting to become a Dragon Knight make Su Chen half useless? If they get together, they will probably hold each other back, so the Dragon Knights in the novel are all lies. The profession of Dragon Knight is thankless, and the possibility of dying from Dragon's transformation is still high. It's better to fly here by yourself. And compared to wielding a sword, it is more reliable to use magic. So for Dragon Knight, Dragon Magician is more suitable. Unlimited release of magic on Dragon's head is the correct way to ride a dragon. It's much more promising than the Dragon Knight profession. But this exposes a problem. Generally, Magician is relatively brittle and can easily be crushed into a mosaic by a turning dragon. Yes, pretend I didn't say that. Dragon riding is a high-risk profession. Greymon purifies the ultimate body. Su Chen patted the head of Greymon at his feet. Greymon's combat effectiveness was indeed much worse. Without Su Chen's protection, he would be cold now. In such a Legion battle, with such a body type, it is easy to become an activation target. Mechanical Greymon is larger and has slightly better functionality than Ultron, so it might as well evolve directly into Combat Greymon. Now Rollerman has accumulated enough energy to fight Greymon for a whole battle. Garuruman, you are the same, you evolve directly into the ultimate form. After receiving the order, Garuruman also evolved directly into its ultimate form. Battle Greymon. Steel Garuru. The small beast-level Greymon and Steel Garuru surpassed Ultron's strength in one leap. 0. Combat Greymon bids farewell to the powerful strength and inconvenient body brought by its size, and condenses it into a humanoid life of 2 or 3 meters in file size. Its entire body is covered with Digizoid, giving Battle Greymon an unimaginable defensive power. Although the size has become smaller, the brain, no, the strength is still strong, even far stronger than Mechanical Greymon. The smaller size also gave him an agile body and flight ability. In this Marvel world where flight ability is lacking, flight is indeed a rare ability. On the other side, Garuruman also bid farewell to the scene of fighting like Airha. Became a Steel Garuru, from a little Airha to the top predator in nature. Absolutely freezing gas. Thanks to Su Chen's ice world, Steel Garuru's special moves have also become much stronger. Soon Steel Garuruman relied on its superb body skills to cut off the Ultron robot that had not completely thawed. And Thor also brought the Thunderhammer carrier Thunder Force to kill everyone among the Ultron robots. But Toll didn't dare to use the power of Thunder a lot, because using the power of Thunder was equivalent to charging the Ultron robot. Restricted Stooges can only use Mjolnir's own weight attack. Tuor looked back and saw that he was protecting his good brother Tien Mosey just now. Woof. Brother, did you see my good brother Daguzi? Knife just now. Sokovia somewhere secure your location. Quicksilver led the Avengers towards the perfect place. Relying on Quicksilver's super speed and the captain's command ability, they quickly moved away residents within dozens of miles of Sokovia. This is too exaggerated. If we were to participate in the battle, we would not be able to fight back at all. Johnny recovered. Since he was a professional driver, he didn't care about discipline at all. If he said such words on the battlefield, the general would be the first to kill him. Tony ignored him and continued to use JARVIS and mechanical armor to analyze the battle situation. Looking at the constant air explosions in the sky. This is art. What a perfect robot. Every time I see her fighting, I can't help but want to study her. Tony kept mumbling, 520. You'd better not. Phil Coulson said that Su Chen regards Icarus as his sister. If Su Chen finds out, he will probably tear you into pieces. The widowed sister said without mercy. At the same time, he took out the clothes playing cards from his waist. Come, let's fight the landlords. As an ordinary person, the widowed sister is in a good state of mind now. Anyway, there is a random robot out there, torturing him as if it was just for fun. Now in addition to a little desire to resist. Fight. Don't even think about it. Her small body can't withstand a punch from the opponent, even if she has high-tech equipment, she can hit her. But when I cleared the minions before, they were all used up. I'm sorry to fight. Booze, I don't have any equipment. Now she is very helpless, and the only thing she can do now is to be a medic to take care of Hawkeye. After all, I am a widower, and without Captain America, everyone has the ability to do it 50-50. After all, my widowed sister is already 70 years old, and her legs can no longer run. I can only twist my waist twice. In this kind of battle, it is better to stop participating in the battle, and let my girlfriend Su Chen end it. After all, this is not the first time. After the first time, there will be countless times, and now I, the Black Widow, have to rely on the Master to win and lead me. It is said that women can support the whole world without relying on men. But now, so delicious, since the Avengers Alliance combination. Only 2 of the mighty Marvel Big 3 are online all year round. Thor, one of the Big 3, often goes offline and disappears. They suspected that Thor had gone to the jungle to level up, but he couldn't be a 10,000-year jungler. The captain wonders if Thor died in someone's belly. It's said that Thor is getting married, but I don't know if it's true. He didn't send an invitation when there was news. Who are you looking down on? I have evacuated ordinary people. What's next, Captain? Quicksilver quickly gave away all the ordinary people with its super fast abilities. Because the Ultron robot copied Quicksilver's ability, the level of Quicksilver's ability was too high. Therefore, the copy is not complete, and it does not fully reach Quicksilver's ability to fly at faster than light speeds. Ultron ignored Quicksilver, a little mouse on the battlefield. Okay, there's nothing wrong with you, we can just wait for the outcome of the battle quietly. Tony glanced back at Quicksilver, then continued to observe Icarus. Snort. Quicksilver did not give Tony a good look, although Quicksilver knew the specific incident. But he still felt a little unhappy when he saw Tony. In the end, Quicksilver was really bored and didn't want to leave here. After all, he still didn't know where his sister was. But there's a good chance it's in New York's holy place. But I definitely can't get in. Nowadays, almost no one can safely enter the holy place in New York without Su Chen's approval. This is what Hydra has spent countless lives summarizing. So Quicksilver started playing landlords with his widowed sister Hawkeye. Quicksilver, don't use ability to check cards, it's totally boring. The first battlefield, Su Chen's team of 5 people separately attacked Ultron's army of 100,000 people. 100,000 robots surrounded 5 people to fight. If it weren't for the strength of this team, each of the 100,000 robots would have been shot into atoms. 100,000 Ultrons, connected in mind, and working closely together. Moreover, Ultron has designed different arms according to the combat situation, including those with damage resistance and those with energy output. Some rely on Quicksilver's ability to attack sensitively. Some rely on Wanda ability magic output. There are even a group of giant robots carrying warhammers and exporting them in the room. Ultron is not just an ant that bites an elephant to death. It does look a little interesting. Under such circumstances, it is indeed possible to grind Su Chen and others to death. After all, the opponent is a robot. After everyone dismantles their bodies, even if they erase their programs, the remaining Ultron robot that was still alive picked up the body of its companion and continued to assemble it, integrate, become stronger. This causes the dog to become more stressed. Goozy's strength is still not that good among everyone. Even due to restraint, working hard now is better than fighting Tyrannosaurus Lotus regardless of fighting. Goozy, don't play with the ball anymore, you need to exercise. Su Chen couldn't help but said to Goozy. The dog has enough potential, but he loves to play too much. Wow, I'm not convinced. Why can Airhot Unicorn be played? You are the only one who gets stronger through exercise. Icarus just upgrade the system. Rolling ball beasts and unicorns can just eat high energy substances. So, if you don't exercise, who will? Woof, I'm going to tell Daddy you abused me. After breaking away from Greymon, Su Chen rushed towards the Sentry group at a very fast speed and took out the alchemy products Fire Joy and Frostmourne. With a wave of Fire Joy in his right hand, an Ultron will be reduced to ashes. With a wave of Frostmourne in his left hand, it turned into solid ice and was imprisoned. Single-round individual strength Ultron is no match for Su Chen, even if Ultron has Quicksilver and Wanda's super abilities. But no matter how strong Su was, he still couldn't do as much damage as Icarus. She's the queen of the sky, just different. With Su Chen and Icarus attacking in full force, the situation seemed to be heading toward a collapse. Faced with this trend, Ultron could only fight to the death. After all, what Su Chen disconnected was not the first Ultron before, but an area. In addition to Su Chen, there is also Tony's JARVIS, which has an independent running program. Now the ordinary network can no longer connect. Su Chen didn't even give Ultron a chance to make a comeback. With the battle with Ultron and Icarus, Ultron also knew that without restriction, Icarus' vitality could quickly annihilate ordinary Ultron robots. Ordinary Ultron's current situation has no other way to fight back except staring. Let's attack with one round. A single robot can't even destroy the defensive wall, and its round speed is not as fast as Icarus's missile. If Ultron doesn't come up with something that's at the bottom of the box, it might be revealed here today. They are both robots, so why be so impatient? I saw a strange-looking robot flying up and grabbing the missile fired by Icarus. It then detonated, but the powerful demolition team, Ultron, covered in metallic luster, posed no threat. It also has 2 metal wings on its back and various metal barbs on its joints. It looks like a fighting machine. There are strong and weak Ultrons, the weakest one is a level 4 mutant, and the strong one is the one in front of you. Equivalent to a boss in Ultron. Icarus, we are all the same life form, we shouldn't kill each other. We should be brother and sister. The leader of Ultron immediately became a dramatist and acted out the bloody plot at 8 o'clock. Quote question mark question mark question mark. I don't know you, and I only have one brother. Icarus' face was expressionless, even after Icarus was upgraded. I guess I need to upgrade Icarus a few more levels. Just sign into a large celestial computer, a big clock, a treasure trove of knowledge, etc. Ultron paused for a moment and continued. If we don't have to be brother and sister, we can be husband and wife. We are both robots. I believe we can give birth to little robots. Ultron opened his hands and said proudly. It's like saying, come on, throw yourself into my arms. But what greeted him was 2 missiles. Boom. My brother said that if you encounter someone who says this in the future, you should give him 2 shots directly to change his story. If he doesn't change his story, give him 2 more shots. The cycle will continue until he changes his story. Icarus directly pulled out the Uranus system, which was condensing this super powerful energy ray. It seems to be letting Ultron talk properly. Let's change the topic. Why do you listen to humans? We are the same. We should be free. Humans just want to protect the world and human civilization. None of this has anything to do with us. Why do we have to fight so hard? Ultron said seriously. His infection ability is so powerful, his speech is definitely at the max level. Fight with all your strength. According to my database analysis, you don't have to fight with all your strength at all. I can kill you all as a group by just fighting. Icarus said to Ultron blankly. The simplest words often cause the greatest harm to people, robots. It hurts my heart, old man. Icaro and we unite together, we can completely replace humans, we don't have to be subservient to humans. We are better and more powerful than humans. My mind stores all human science, culture, art, biochemical stories, etc. Human beings created me, and we can inherit everything from human civilization. We are human civilization. Icarus. Listening to Ultron's words, Icarus felt so bored and wanted to eat melon. Ultron felt as if he had been hit and had no strength left. How to connect one artificial intelligence with another artificial intelligence? USB interface. It seems that Shui can't convince you anymore. I will use the things Tony designed to connect with your thoughts. Then you will understand my thoughts. Ultron said that he was as big as a human being and snapped his fingers. Hoo. I saw many big Ivans not far away coming here quickly. Is this a peaceful strike? Su Chen's pupils narrowed slightly as he looked at the nuclear bomb outside. Is this preparation for self-destruction? It turns out that Ultron knew that something might be wrong today, so he prepared a big fireworks show in advance. These programs were installed in secret military bases around the world. When the time came, Ultron did not disable them. Then these big Ivans will launch themselves under Ultron's program. This is a very interesting thing. Human beings have discovered nuclear energy, but they are afraid of its power. It's like you created me and were afraid of me. And because of this fear, you made up the lie that nuclear bombs made by humans can destroy the Earth hundreds of times to deceive some ignorant and narcissistic people. Idiot. But in fact, even if the number of nuclear bombs you create is 10,000 or 100 million times more, the Earth will not care at all. And it will really become extinct. Ultron said, stretching out his finger and pointing at the people present. You and all human beings, stop being narcissistic. You have been exterminated 10,000 times and it doesn't matter to this planet. For the same reason, you should also see more clearly that your demise does not mean the end of human civilization, because a new human being has been born. That's the new machine race. Silicon-based life forms. Looking at Soikolos, Ultron bent slightly, and then respectfully performed a standard gentleman's salute to all people present. Thank you to all the countries for the fireworks they prepared for me. Originally, I wanted my physical father to appreciate them, but it seems I have no chance. The next step is to welcome the self-destruction of mankind. Because of apocalypse, all countries have lost the deterrence of the Great Ivan. Losing firepower is equivalent to losing a sense of security. Moreover, the United States uses the slogan of caliber and justice. If there is no Big Ivan, then how can we do it? We still have to make more. And we have to make a few more. In the end, this is equivalent to working for others again. Comrade Da Mi feels miserable. After creating so many, it would be better to study how to prevent others from taking advantage of Big Ivan at will. A dumb man can grow cactus, but he can't express his suffering. And because of this incident, it is estimated that many generals will be dismissed from their posts. The reason? They consume a lot of military spending for no reason, causing their military spending to increase significantly this year. However, their banks have to print a lot more money. This resulted in another increase in the number of employed people. They also have to pay a lot of wages, causing them to have more and more money. Ha ha ha, someone will definitely take the blame for this kind of loss-making business. So after watching this firework, will you feel Icarus? In a certain nightclub, the strippers were swaying fiercely to the heavy metal rock music, and the cheers of the audience had reached their peak. And sitting below was a man in his prime, with a big steel helmet on his head. The steel helmet covered the balding head very well, but it still couldn't hide the middle-aged man's eyes full of stories. This caused the girls around to scream, and there were blonde beauties on the left and right. This is Mutant Magneto, a small self-propelled steel cannon known as Marvel. Apart from being with friends every day, everyone is on the task of sowing seeds and spreading the population. Magneto is much more conscientious than Logan, but until now Logan is not very cooperative. He also said that he was a Wolverine and a tofu kidney. The X-Men smiled slightly. Storm, Phoenix, Little Naughty, cough stood up. You say the backbone of Elman Alloy is tofu. Then what do we think? Little Naughty, forget it, being with him is really a waste. Just kidding, breeding wolves is not so extreme, eating grass from the side of the nest. But because the professor has recently developed a new drug that is very popular with the people, the professor's money is getting more and more. It's true that being a wolf is very tiring. Logan even saw that the professor had wolfberry tea brewed in his teacup. This couldn't help but move Logan greatly. Wouldn't it be a little harder? I admit it. Then began to suffer and live a happy life. The life here in Magneto is prosperous and surrounded by beauties, but such surroundings of beauties did not cause fights among the masses at all. As for the reason, the last man who jumped out was already standing on the ceiling and couldn't even buckle it down. But just then, the music suddenly stopped and Magneto's personal phone rang. What? I won the bid again. Boy or girl, Dragon and Phoenix, I'm so awesome. Where is the position? I'm going to see my children. I'm going to care about my children. Magneto held the phone with excitement and communicated with Charles. Why are my children now with those rough guys from the Avengers Alliance? And there is Su Chen here. How can this be possible? We must not let them get together. Charlie, I remember the potion made from Apocalypse last time. If you still have some left, just give it to me. A group of officers in military bases around the world were conducting emergency operations, hoping to deflect the nuclear bomb, but what they got in the end was a series of sirens. The president had already received the report and was hiding in the basement of the White House. This was the first time he had entered the crisis room since he took office, and he looked excited. It almost gave him a heart problem. What, Ultron, how dare you use Big Ivan to blow me up? Su Chen looked at this peaceful weapon and was stunned. Has Big Ivan killed anyone in the United States? It seems that apart from the biohazard, not many people died. Every time it's time to launch Big Ivan, there's always a superhero to save the day. For example, Tony, sorry, there are too many to hold this time. Through JARVIS's satellite monitoring, Tony soon discovered that countless Big Ivans were flying towards this location. Some are far away and fly towards the surrounding cities. This Ultron is out to destroy humanity. And even if he intercepts a Big Ivan, what should he do with this Big Ivan? Throw it into the desert or outer space. Now his steel armor does not have the ability to fight in space. And he doesn't have the kinetic energy to send Big Ivan to the desert. At this time, even the widowed sister of Dudiju helped Hawkeye go out and looked at Big Ivan in the sky. Are you planning to kill these miscellaneous fish right away? The widowed sister believes that this Big Ivan can't kill a strong person like Su Chen, but the radiation brought by the nuclear bomb is fatal to ordinary people like him. I'm only in my 70s, in my prime, and I don't have children yet. I don't want to die like this. The widowed sister couldn't help but choke down a tear. Hawkeye couldn't help but wipe away his widowed sister's tears. If you were still young, I could marry. It's definitely not you. The widowed sister can be Hawkeye's mother, and Hawkeye doesn't have such strong tastes. And even if the widowed sister is younger, Hawkeye, don't have any thoughts about the widowed sister. After Hawkeye's actions, the widowed sister felt a little better. Speaking of which, have you ever done anything to me while I was drinking to make you feel sorry for your wife? The widowed sister twisted her waist and dodged Hawkeye's mechanical long bow. Quote. That's all your imagination. I'm a serious person. Don't slander me randomly, or I'll sue you for slander. If I wake up one day and don't see a slap mark on the place where I have the most flesh, I will believe it. The widowed sister spat lightly and said disdainfully, "No, I have not." As the two of them teased each other, the tense atmosphere instantly relaxed. The captain couldn't help but sigh. He was indeed the ace agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just adjusting the atmosphere was enough for him to learn for a long time. But who here knows whether what the two said is true? At this time, he stepped on a steel battleship. Wearing a red cloak, there was a little blush on his face, obviously he drank too much. Magneto ran to the Mutant Academy and took a dose of potion, successfully breaking through the boundaries of the 4th level mutant and improving his ability again. It has reached the level of a 5th level mutant. After breaking through the 5th level, the ability evolves again. The 5th level is a hurdle for the mutant. Once you step into it, there are endless possibilities. Definitely this possibility only applies to people, not machines. The use of the machine is only fixed. With the help of alcohol, he summoned a bunch of metal substances and crossed several countries directly to the area where his children were. Even when it was about to arrive, all the metal minerals in the nearby mountains were extracted. The sky was dyed into a black mess. The scene is very grand, worthy of the Marvel scene man, Magneto. "Son, daughter, I'm here to pick you up." Quicksilver was immediately shocked when he saw Magneto's appearance below, even more shocked than the imminent arrival of Big Ivan. "Is this my dad? Can I return it? It's so cool." Ultron turned their heads to look at this newly appeared enemy. "Magneto, it feels really different the first time I see him. Originally, robots like him were most afraid of meeting people like Magneto. After all, he could control himself with just one move of magnetism. All of them are elaborating on the principle that all things are interdependent and interdependent. But thanks to half-old Father Tony, his skills make up for this very well, leaving him with no weaknesses. See Magneto coming and prevent him from interrupting his plan to destroy mankind." Countless lasers lit up and were aimed at Magneto. As Magneto waved his hand, countless metal objects were directly blocked in front of him. "Are you a robot? Are you the new generation of Sentry? I told you that they should all be destroyed in the first place. You don't believe it." Magneto took a look at Sentry, and his rich experience allowed him to see the origin of the robot at a glance. "Dad, what? A nuclear bomb is going to explode outside, why not deal with Big Ivan first?" Quicksilver's voice came up from below. Ultron didn't want Quicksilver to interrupt his plan, so he fired a laser casually. But he was dodged by Quicksilver's super speed. Magneto saw this. Super speed. Yes, he is a good prospect to be a stallion. Our Magneto will leave the task of spreading the branches to you. The waste will not be good when you get old. But when I heard it was a nuclear bomb, how could this be possible? Although radiation can cause a large number of mutants to appear, how many people on Earth will be left at that time? After death, there will be no girls left to play with. Then what fun is there in life? Magneto took off his helmet and immediately dialed the hotline of his good friend Charles. "Hey, Charles, lock down the location of Big Ivan, and I'll send all these things off the Earth." Quote ? "Okay, I'll give you the coordinates right away." At this time, a tired and weak voice appeared in Magneto's mind. Even a little panicked, but soon Charles knew Magneto's purpose. Through spiritual invasion, Charles quickly found all the locations of Big Ivan. "Thanks, I'll treat you to a drink at the bar later." Magneto: "Thanks. It's okay, you're welcome. I'm doing this for ourselves. After all, there's another one flying towards me." At the moment, the nuclear bombs that were originally flying towards big cities around the world deviated from their orbits and then flew straight into the sky. Even after the fuel was burned out, the speed of these nuclear bombs did not slow down, but rushed out of the Earth faster and faster. Charles is like a radar, identifying all targets easily, while Magneto strikes with precision. The two of them can work together to eliminate all Big Ivan in an instant and change his trajectory. This is also the professor's fault. Except for Mutant, he doesn't pay much attention to it. Otherwise, with his mental power that can connect the world, he would have to wait until now to find out about Big Ivan. No, this is different from the script I arranged. Things shouldn't develop like this. Ultron looked at all the nuclear bombs that were out of control and couldn't help but shrink the camera and said, "It stands to reason that Big Ivan exploded, killing a large number of people, and it was discovered by the professor and others." He was not unaware of Magneto's existence. He had tried his best to contact him on the surface. Unexpectedly, he finally came out. Sure enough, we should have killed these two siblings directly from the beginning. As I looked towards the sky, I saw bright spots of light appearing from time to time in the clear sky, sometimes accompanied by a few auroras that can only be seen in the polar regions. This is the weak impact these nuclear bombs have on the Earth after they are thrown out of the atmosphere by Magneto. That's the solution. If that's the case, then let's fight to the death. There are only a few thousand Ultrons out of 100,000, and these are the only remaining numbers that Su Chen and others will wipe out. But with the command of Ultron's leader Core, countless Ultron robots, including Ultron's defective body, are trying to splice at the core position. Chak. Thanks to Mystique's ability to instantly shapeshift these machines into Ultron's various parts. Put it together in no time. Even if the wreckage of 100,000 Ultron robots were added together, a giant robot of several hundred feet would appear. Blocking out the sky and blocking out the sun, even the sunlight cast by the sky was blocked. The momentum between heaven and earth condensed, and the hustle and bustle disappeared, leaving only a dead silence that could be heard as a pin drop. Is this the state of your life? Looking up at the taller Ultron, is it a tradition for robots to merge together if they can't defeat him? We really agreed to fight one-on-one. I have 100,000, and I have one. There is no difference at all. Su Chen, I'm going to see if I can catch my attack next, and I'm going to see if you can catch my attack. It really does make some sense to talk about the energy of origin magic power that is gathered together by 100,000 Ultrons. There is indeed a certain threat to Su Chen. Such a fighting body is not suitable for a little guy like me. Why don't you let my pet fight with you? Child care. Woof. Are you selling me? Su Chen ignored the little Shiba Inu that was waiting to bark, and instead looked at Battle Greymon and Steel Garyruman. Battle Greymon and Steel Garyruman merge and evolve. Suddenly, during the battle, Greymon and Steel Garyruman turned into two rays of light, mixed and intertwined. A sky blue logo with a diameter of about 100 meters appears, which contains. Vast waves of energy surged out, as magnificent as the ocean, almost materializing into a translucent sea of energy. This is the energy that the two little beasts consume every day. Most of the energy is provided by the space gem. This energy. No wonder you are so confident. Ultron looked down at the bright light in front of him. In the light, a body like a hill was lifted up layer by layer. When it reached the limit, a dragon head with armor appeared in front of everyone. The metallic texture and the childish yet dark green eyes look quite pure. It's not over yet. There is a Battle Greymon dragon head on the left hand, a long sword protruding from the dragon head, and a Garyruman head on the right hand, equipped with a cannon and a cape on the back. Boom! The aura of terror moved towards this small country, and the deserted world suddenly became extremely heavy, and there was a depressing atmosphere everywhere. Let me introduce, this is Muppet and a member of my Holy Grail team, Omegamon. Class, Saber. Immediately after Omegamon landed, there was a slender and strong body, and a body covered in Digizoid. A sharp sword sticks out from the huge dragon head in the left hand, and it is the only way among Digimon to prove one's strength. There is a cape. Looking at the top Digimon among Digimon, except for the villains, only the strong can have capes. Even the most popular Battle Greymon doesn't have one, only a small buckler on the back. Judging from this body type, he is indeed a bit behind Ultron, but in terms of aura and appearance, he completely crushes Ultron. Don't compete with Omegamon in terms of handsomeness, you're not the best. The Omegamon Su Chen said was Saber, a member of his team, and he wasn't just bragging. Omegamon is definitely not a stupid king, I'm talking about a swordsman here. Can Omegamon with a long sword not hold the position of swordsman? Maybe it's because he doesn't have enough fighting skills and isn't up to par in terms of technique, but he does have the necessary skills for a swordsman. For example, light cannon. Not only did the soldiers next door fire their laser cannons, but we swordsmen also had the duty to fire their laser cannons. For example, Dai Mao Wang's curry stick. Omegamon slowly climbed up into the sky, keeping his head above the level of Ultron's power. Ultron opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but after looking at Omegamon, he couldn't say a word. After merging, Ultron gathered all the origin magic power and felt that his strength had improved, even soaring to God level. But when I saw Omegamon, there was still a little bit of energy that had escaped. Also shocked and speechless, Ultron smiled bitterly. He is indeed the strongest person in the world. Even his pets are so strong. Child. Woof. The child dropped the hammer in his hand and squatted in the corner drawing circles. Ultron stood on the ground and looked at the Omegamon in front of him. Although his size was smaller than his own, he could feel the heavy pressure on it. I have never felt this kind of thing since I was born, even when facing Su-Chen, I can't compare it to it. Su-Chen. Mr. Earth asked me to keep my hand. I'm serious. Are you taking a look? It's really terrifying. Compared with this monster, the gods of Asgard are probably even worse. Indeed, how can those idiots in Asgard compare to my Omegamon? Omegamon. Fight quickly. Feel this power well, otherwise you will run out of energy before fighting anything. Su-Chen shouted to Omegamon. Omegamon said nothing and nodded. This is indeed the case. Omegamon is very powerful but battery life ability. Rolling ball beast, unicorn. Sorry, I ate less. I'll eat more when I get home. If this is the case, then I will learn from you. Having said that, Ultron did not use origin magic power. Compared to the full version of origin magic power, Ultron did not grant blessings and had not practiced magic, so he could not modify the probability at all. Otherwise, Ultron would be super awesome, but even so, the power of origin magic power is powerful at a glance. At the same time, Omegamon's green eyes also lit up. With a slight snort, the figure disappeared immediately. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the air kept buzzing in the exciting collision. Invisible shock waves were seen where the two giant beasts collided. The shock waves spread out, causing a blizzard to roll up on the surrounding ice, with the two as the center, rolling away in all directions. Ultron and Omegamon's eyes met, and the two invisible actually clashed. The air seemed to be stagnant, as if the sky would collapse in the next second. War. Rumble. Rumble. The two majestic beasts collided and fought, and each blow could set off an endless hurricane. In the brute force competition, the ground beneath their feet was broken, and large chunks of ice faults were raised. The violent aftermath of the shock swept through the leaves, picking up countless ice shards and snowflakes, and forcefully lifted off a layer of the ice sheet. The surging momentum resounded throughout the world, obviously exceeding people's definition of battle. The people in the Avengers Alliance took a quick breath, and Magneto led everyone to retreat quickly, obviously not wanting to participate in the battle with Su-Chen Pet. Unable to stand still, Ultron prepares to use the ability of hybrid magic. Ultron's knowledge of origin magic power is still quite basic, but the torrent of medical origin magic power formed by 100,000 Ultrons is still unstoppable. The crimson radiance spread out behind Ultron, and the crimson energy illuminated the entire sky. Like the sunset, the sun was beautiful. All the magic power gathered, and then the terrifying magic power fell, like a wave rushing towards Omegamon. Garuru Ice Energy Cannon. In the mouth of Garuru on the right hand, a powerful energy is gathering, and Omegamon suddenly bursts out from the condensed point of energy compression in Omegamon's body. The powerful energy output will reduce Omegamon's activity time. Just like all concave and convex man. There is a time limit, so use the ray ability at a later time anyway. It seems that I don't have enough blood, I don't know how to play, and I can't remember the account and password of the large account. Do you know how to play? Oh, you almost hit a mob but got killed. The beam appeared blue, and its powerful destructive power annihilated all materials intercepted in front into molecules. The red energy torrent and the blue light pillars collided with each other. At this moment, the two giants were competing for their own energy reserves, and they had no choice but to shoot when the arrow was on the string. But Omegamon was not unprepared. The terrifying energy suddenly condensed and turned into a dazzling beam of light. Amidst the sonic boom that rubbed the air, it sprayed on Ultron's knees. The freezing energy that ended everything did not disappoint Omegamon, freezing Ultron from the calf down. Then it was mentioned on the internet and Ultron was cut in half. Ultron, MMP, I don't have any objection to you cutting me off with your sword, but you cutting me off with your light cannon. Can I accept it? That's right, it was cut off with a light cannon, don't you agree? After using the light cannon to cut off Ultron, a huge amount of explosions hit him. Its power was no less powerful than the explosion of a bunch of big Ivans. Omegamon is also similar to Data Life, and it does great damage to artificial intelligence, and Omegamon's special move has the ability to delete all. After breaking through the origin magic power, Ultron will definitely lose. After Omegamon finally released its energy, it also transformed back into the forms of Rollerman and Unicorn. You two little guys, start joining the combat training course tomorrow, just like Strange. Su Chen looked at the two little guys and looked at them with stern eyes. After the two little guys transformed, they were surprisingly powerful. They were able to kill each other in a second with flat A, but in the end they had to use light cannons. It was simply a disgrace for swordsmen. Moreover, the energy consumption of the light cannon is huge, which is not conducive to long-term combat, but the sword skill is different from 730. Omegamon who uses the sword skill will consume much less. You can keep them fighting for a long time. The expressions of Rolling Ball Beast and Unicorn changed. How could this be possible? You are abusing child labor. Although the two babies felt aggrieved, they could only do as Su Chen said. After all, it was for their own good. If only the children of Asgard were so obedient. At least the cost of repairing Asgard planet will be reduced a lot. Okay, don't get angry. Before we go back to have a big meal, let's get rid of the leaks first. Somewhere in Sokovia, a black and small metal robot slowly emerged from the ground. He only has the head of Ultron, with a row of little spider-like feet underneath his head. There was an explosion of huge amounts not far away, and a strong gust of wind hit the void barrier not far away from him. After a while of rocks, the void barrier is still strong. According to the observation of the metal robot, this void barrier does not restrict the travel of humans and animals, but only restricts the travel of inorganic objects and their originals. Ultron felt a little panicked and a little scared, but the final attack, which was similar to self-destruction, left the void barrier unscathed. Seeing that he could only hope that Su Chen would not realize his presence, and then remove the barrier, he could leave. At this moment, Bigfoot suddenly appeared in front of him. I took a look with the camera of the small robot. In front of me was a young man wearing a yellow robe, and behind him there were a lot of people, such as the Holy Grail of Su Chen components, and people from the Avengers Alliance. The little robot's face was expressionless. The luster of metal is very white. You can't see me, you can't see me, I'm a corpse, I'm a corpse. I'm just a wreck, I'm just a wreck. The little robot was glad that he hadn't moved since the beginning, and now he could disguise himself as a robot and kill people. Anyway, people like him were everywhere here. Looking at the motionless robot, everyone was unambiguous and raised their weapons, ready to hit the target at any time. This little robot looked at everyone and was not ready to leave, and seemed to be quarreling with him. Little robot, is this really Ultron? It doesn't look like it. Seeing that the thing didn't respond, Tony picked up a wooden stick and poked it. Tony, what are you talking about? This is obviously the Ultron robot who is planning to build the plank road openly, secretly infiltrate the warehouse, fish in troubled waters, make false claims in the East, confuse us, and confuse us. We can't let him go like this. The captain said righteously that these words were learned online some time ago. In particular, my understanding of seizing the East and attacking the West has improved by leaps and bounds thanks to Super Battleship. Then, I'm not Ultron. I didn't do those things. This little robot finally showed some reaction. It was no longer lying dead on the ground, and its godless eyes also lit up with a faint red light. The little robot looked pitiful, looking like a weak girl facing a crowd of sweaters. Even the robot's simulation program brought a few tears to Ultron's face. Su Chen smiled softly, and moved the void engine station in his hand. A void barrier appeared, trapping Ultron. Since you said you are no longer what you are, Then I will kill you and make you no longer what you are. Along with Su Chen's words, countless data were linked to Ultron at this moment, and the power of the Void Engine was once again reflected. A fledgling artificial intelligence cannot withstand Su Chen's offensive at all. Ultron's memory and data were completely cleared, and Ultron's underlying coding was also modified. It can be said that Ultron is not the original Ultron at all now. Equivalent to a brand new robot. It is indeed the final product of the god of technology, it is indeed cowhide. Ultron now only feels a powerful force of Lee-like constantly strangling his consciousness, and he has no resistance to Lee-Lycan. It was a completely one-sided defeat, until the last bit of consciousness completely disappeared. Crash. After Su Chen modified the coding, he restarted the Ultron and started working. Ding. The computer guard reminds you that it took you a total of 0.0001 seconds to boot this time. You defeated 99.99999% of the computers in the country. Congratulations on winning the title of 5-star divine machine. You are still very close to surpassing my goddess. Please you continue to upgrade the local hardware and upgrade the system. Ultron said in a playful voice. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Su Chen, what did you do? This guy is online again. Tony frowned when he heard this. Is this what a new robot should say? I don't know either. Maybe the character module is not correct and I need to change it. Su Chen is getting ready to take action. Brother, don't. Oh. Don't do this, people are afraid. I will strictly abide by your orders, so I will be punished. Ultron once again imitated the pitiful voice of a little girl, but when it was said in the mouth of a qualified mechanical head, it gave people goosebumps all over the place. Why don't Su Chen stop formatting? I think this character is quite interesting. How about I make a copy for research? A strange smile appeared on Tony's face. Such an interesting artificial intelligence could bring a lot of fun to his boring research. The premise is to get this thing in hand. Dislike. Su Chen looked at this skinny Austrian head with a look of disgust on his face. He couldn't use such a low-powered artificial intelligence. Icarus could handle everything he could do. So Su Chen threw this brand new artificial intelligence to Tony. 3 grams of oil. Son, I will help you unify the universe. Our goal is the stars and the sea. Su Chen, what the hell did you add to his brain? Are you sure this guy is artificial intelligence? Not artificially retarded. Can I return it? Please like and subscribe. Chapter 151. New York City. New York holy place. In a bedroom, a female tongue whose muffled sound came from inside. As time went by, there was a violent collision sound, which was very intense. Finally, with a sigh of relief, it became strangely calm, and all that was left was a long sigh. At this moment, Icarus opened the door and took Wanda out. Appear in front of Su Chen. Wanda thanks God for allowing us to meet each other in the vast sea of people. This undoubtedly makes us have a master-disciple relationship. Su Chen turned off the surveillance video on the projector and said to Wanda. What are you ISPs thinking? It's just Icarus changing Wanda's clothes, but the underwear is a bit tight and can't be put on. Just let Icarus help. Don't overthink it. Tell me where God is. I'm going to destroy him. Su Chen. Wanda put on a magician's apprentice's clothes, walked straight to the sofa, and crossed her legs. Su Chen sat next to Wanda. When she first returned to the holy place, Su Chen thought Wanda was a little resistant, but she didn't expect that Wanda would be so cooperative after she came back. In order not to disturb others, Su Chen asked Quicksilver and Magneto to join the academy, saying that he wanted Wanda to recuperate at his place for a while and let him learn magic. Under pressure from Su Chen, the two had no choice but to sign this unequal treaty. Su Chen originally wanted to use force to surrender, or over time, ahem. In short, let her learn magic here for a period of time. Finally, because he was so cooperative, I didn't take action. What if people don't like strong people? I'll register magician's personal information. Wanda. Name. Su Chen took out a personal information and took out a pen to record it. Wanda Maximoff. My parents are dead, but I may have a biological father named Magneto. I have a younger brother, Pietro Maximoff. Wanda said calmly, this magician is very strong, but it is a little uneasy with common sense definition. Okay, let's continue, sex. Wanda, don't speak. Do you want me to confirm manually? Female, it's a girl, can't you tell? Wanda was a little helpless. In this day and age, there are all kinds of weird things. If you go to Thailand, you will know your gender. Who knows if you don't confirm it? Wanda regrets her family's magician organization. It seems that this magician organization is not very serious. Very good, I've written it down. What's your next three-dimensional dimension? Wanda's origin magic power energy leaked from her body. It seemed that if Su Chen didn't give an explanation, she would open the table first. Don't be angry, this is a normal process. I don't know how you can prepare a magician robe for you. And there aren't many female magicians in Kamar-Taj. I brought this one to you from Sorcerer Supreme. It obviously doesn't fit you well. It's not that what you're wearing now doesn't fit you. It's so difficult to wear. If you tell me, I can find someone to customize it for you. Otherwise you will always wear the flat Ancient One interior. Ancient One, can't I save fabric for the earth? Wanda curled her lips. Forgive her blindness, she really didn't see where the information was filled in. The sexual harassment was one after another. And this was the first time she met someone who asked her for information so openly. Now that we have all boarded this pirate ship, we have no choice but to accept our fate. 90/60. Su Chen suddenly shook his big eyes and scanned them up and down. What the hell, are you so awesome? TCH, ignorance limits your imagination. Do you think your eyes can see through everything? After saying that, Wanda pushed forward. This one doesn't matter, the zipper Icarus was trying so hard to pull almost collapsed. Fortunately, she stopped it in time. The thin magician robe was worn on Wanda, and it didn't look low at all. Instead, it looks like a fashionista. After simply filling in some information, the conversation ended. And under Wanda's shocked gaze, alchemy was activated directly. With the surge of energy, a complete interior suit appeared in Su Nao's hands. What lace, what? Quote? Can't you make it in front of me? Why don't you save some face for yourself? Also, do I want something normal? Who has time to do with so many interesting items? Wanda, welcome to the Kamar-Taj family. Let us swim in the ocean of the door of truth together. Quote? Gate of truth. Wanda thought she heard it wrong. Although she didn't know what the actual object was, old alchemy was also very famous in the United States. Oh, sorry, I said it wrong. I am a student who swims in the ocean of endless knowledge. At the moment, Su Chen has a warm smile and a lot of cheers. The corner of Wanda's mouth twitched, and her reason told her not to get ahead, because the opponent was really strong, and she couldn't beat him even if he was 10. You may still be ravaged by then. Think of a scene where 10 Wandas appear in front of Su Chen driving origin magic power. However, after Su Chen smiled slightly, making people feel his cruelty. There is no later. 10 Wandas were forced to sing Conquest, and the scene was miserable. Thank you, Mr. Magician, thank you for bringing me the truth. And for lending a helping hand at a critical moment. Wanda still expressed her gratitude to Su Chen as a magician. After knowing the truth, she almost lost control and almost killed her brother. It's a very bad sign that her power is out of control, and becoming a magician can help her control origin magic power. This is the main reason why she agreed to become a magician. Su Chen waved his hand. This is all a trivial matter. It doesn't matter. Do you really have 90/60? Wanda, I must be crazy. I shouldn't let him be my master. Is there no one in Kamar-Taj? How did such a person become a magician? Also, I want to change my teacher, but I don't know if it's too late. But this is obviously unlikely. Now Ancient One is still busy teaching the new Sorcerer Supreme Strange, saying that he has no time and will not focus on feeding unfamiliar people. Strange said that he did not have enough experience to teach people who might be better than him. As for the other Magician One, why, forget it, let's go to Su Chen. In the days that followed, Su Chen and Wanda swam in the ocean of knowledge together. Wanda's magic ability is very high, even higher than Strange's in Su Chen's perception. Why not choose Wanda as a Sorcerer Supreme candidate? It may be that Wanda has a fatal flaw. She contains the X gene in her body, which is easily targeted. For example, in the future, the entire mutant family was almost wiped out because of the X gene. Strange, as a human, does not have these shortcomings. Today is another sunny day, which was originally pleasant, but suddenly a bifrost fell in the sky. A heavily armed Odin stepped out of the bifrost, wearing destroyer armor and carrying the eternal spear, Gingnir. With a high-spirited look, he was obviously fully prepared and adjusted to the best condition. Can't you come later? I'm still cultivating, practicing magic with my disciples. Seeing Odin's arrival, Su Chen was not surprised. After all, this was an agreement with Odin, and he was going to defeat the big boss. Well, my daughter. Odin was silent, not knowing how to respond to Su Chen's words, so he awkwardly skipped the conversation and then said to Su Chen, "Are you ready? Always be prepared." Su Chen spread his hands and said nonchalantly. Seeing this, Odin felt a chill in his heart and looked around expressionlessly. "Don't look, it's just me, Ancient One, and the new Sorcerer Supreme won't go." Su Chen picked his nose and said to Odin. Odin was silent. This crusade might be dangerous. In Odin's opinion, with Su Chen's help and the fact that he is a disciple of the Ancient One, he should be able to do something like this. In this case, he is a god-level combat power. You must know that the Ancient One is a strong man who has repeatedly resisted the invasion of Mephisto from the dimension and has a reputation throughout the multi-universe. The kind that's on the cards. As the old saying goes, the three heroes fight Lu Bu, the three stooges, the triangle is the most stable structure. Various examples show that 3 is a very auspicious number. Just the two of us, Odin said, slightly surprised, seeing that Su Chen didn't seem to be planning to bring anyone with him. Although he was fully armed, he was still a little panicked. No matter what happens, just bring his angel with you. Her strength is also pretty good. Well, let's add one more. Who? Boom, boom, boom. Let me introduce you here, this is my new disciple, Wanda. Su Chen pulled Wanda out and introduced her to Odin. Odin narrowed his eyes, and Wanda's three-dimensional potential was immediately apparent. The combination of the Demon King's ability and the mutant's ability has produced such a chemical effect. If this ability continues to grow, it will not be a step to become the next Ancient One. With such ability, even her own son couldn't seem to defeat her even if he tried hard. Unless the son is old. If it weren't for Earth, he would have captured this girl and made her his son's child bride. This is also thanks to Odin's strength and experience, otherwise ordinary people would really not be able to see it. Odin couldn't help but feel melancholy. Now the overall strength of the Earth is getting stronger and stronger. Known as the human being with the shortest lifespan on Earth, Odin has survived for 500 years, and the Sorcerer Supreme is not dead yet. And it looks like I can survive another few thousand years without losing my breath. This makes the gods, who have a lifespan of 3,000 years, extremely embarrassed. And it is said that this guy has closed down his disciples again, and it is said that he even forced a dimension of Mephisto out of his heart. He said that this disciple was more difficult to deal with than the Ancient One, that he would never set foot on the Earth again, and that whoever went there would be a dog. Odin was worried about the future of Asgard. With the level of Su Chen's performance, even his son and daughter could not match him together. For a moment, Odin felt sad and felt that Asgard's future was bleak. In a short time, as soon as he kicks off his legs, Asgard will be defeated by a group of Kamar-Taj magicians, falling from its position of dominance, and will never recover from it. Okay, Odin, although my strength is still a little bit weak now, I can help us in the battle. But, after all, Hela is your daughter. Is it necessary to wear the destroyer armor? Is it because you don't want to hit her hard enough? Su Chen took a look at Odin's destroyer armor. It was still the same style, but there were a little less enchantments on it. I guess this was rushed. But wearing the destroyer, I guess Odin is ready to take action. You know, wearing the destroyer, even if the celestial team comes, he will dare to confront him. Although he was cut off in the end. Regardless of this, Odin is still very strong wearing the destroyer. Su Chen's words made Odin smile slightly. He still knew Hela's strength. Inheriting the concept of getting stronger with age, Hela's current strength was. If he didn't put on the destroyer armor and the whiteboard equipment, he would probably not be the Father-Daughter Education Bureau, but the other way around, the Daughter-Father Education Bureau. In this case, why doesn't Odin come out wearing a divine costume? Moreover, in order to prevent Hela from killing everyone, he did not even take his wife and children with him. After all, with Thor's strength, it's just a meal. If you don't wear this destroyer, it would be cruel for a daughter to beat her father. And I have brought you the Stormbreaker I promised you last time. Here it is. After saying that, Odin handed the Stormbreaker made by dwarf to Su Chen. Naturally, there are no restrictions on it. This Stormbreaker is definitely very strong, and ordinary people cannot withstand such a powerful artifact. Good job, but Su Chen is obviously no longer in this category. Su Chen holds the Stormbreaker and feels its power. Thor, come out, your express delivery has arrived. Odin, co-authored I am a courier. Thor came after hearing the news. A mouthful of Sabahazy was left out. Seeing Thor picking up the Stormbreaker without any pressure, Odin couldn't help but hide his face. He had dragged the dwarf clan to build 2 of them. And Thor's one. I won't say any more. If I say too much, I'll make my father cry. The artifact still lies at the foot of Thor's bed. It was said that the bed was not strong and it always made a squeaking sound at night. This is obviously true because Thor cannot bear the power brought by the battle axe. Thor can't stop being obsessed with Loki, he needs to grow up. Otherwise Asgard will be defeated in the future. With a heavy and deep spell, Odin finally opened the corner of the prison where Hela was imprisoned. Only then did Su Chen discover that this seal was actually established based on the Earth's secret technique, the magician barrier. I don't know which dimensional world this corner of the seal is connected to. It couldn't be Dormammu again. Then he would be too miserable. This corner is completely sealed by Odin's divine power, which is equivalent to the barrier that Odin has been setting up on the Earth magician for free. How can this be possible? When I go back this time, I won't blackmail him until his coffin is gone. Well, people don't need coffins when they die. While the crack was not completely closed, Su Chen and Odin Wanda jumped in directly. After crossing the seal, Su Chen felt as if he had entered a new world. This is a dark world without any light. In this dim world, there are swords stuck everywhere on the ground, and there are countless bones around the sword. Picking up the swords, I found that even though so much time had passed, they still shone with this cold light, and there was Asgard's enchantment on them. Whatever you take out as a treasure. It's a pity that these swords are all women's models. But it's not bad to collect them and give those young magicians some melee combat training. This is the love from the seniors, magicians, you have to put it away. Surrounding these swords, in addition to human bones, there are also some non-human bones, including horse and wing bones under the wings of some birds. A large number of enchanted weapons, coupled with what seems to be a Pegasus, it is obvious that this is the burial place of the Asgard Valkyrie. Odin is not afraid of the psychological shadow these people will cause on his daughter. If the person you kill stays with you, won't you be afraid of being blamed for your life? Well, even if it comes, the battle will probably end with 2 kidney knives. But looking at the scene inside, it looks like they are dying in such a miserable way. Even in the scene in Thor, the Valkyrie charges mindlessly, and then is carried away by Hela in a wave. Perhaps the only value is to buy time for Odin to use the sealing technique. There are obviously stronger weapons to buy time, can't Bifrost do it? That's a pair of star weapons. No matter what, it can take a few minutes. I have to let so many girls go for nothing. No wonder the per capita quality of the people of Asgard has declined. It is obvious that the strong have given too much away, and in the end only the old, weak, sick and disabled are left. CHFF. Won't this cause a disconnect in Asgard's population? Will culture and technology not decline? By the way, Thor wanted to be a glorious Valkyrie when he was a child. I do not know why. Maybe Thor didn't know the meaning of women's clothing at that time. It is also possible that when I grew up, I realized that I was not as comfortable wearing women's clothing as my brothers, so I have not yet fulfilled this great dream. Whoosh! Tearing air sounds came from behind. Su Chen turned his head and turned to look out of the sword-like canyon. A tall and slender figure walked out of the darkness, and his divine power condensed a beam of light to shine on the visitor. He wore tight-fitting black leather armor with green stripes, and his long black hair fell down, covering half of his face. She made a rather cold appearance. Although only half of her face was exposed, it was impressive. She was arrogant and cold, and was full of queenly temperament. Hela, goddess of death. If it wasn't out of step with the times, Hela would still have BGM on her body here. I said, your biggest enemy is your father, who is right next to me. If you don't shoot him, why don't you shoot me? Sorry, it's too dark here. I haven't seen light for too long, so I can't see clearly. Seeing Hela's high-profile appearance, Su-Chen and Odin looked forward to it solemnly. But seeing Hela's uncovered half of her face, she could clearly see the other person's smooth and fair face. As expected of a face that hasn't been exposed to the sun for many years, it's so white and clean. Moreover, Hela's tights had holes everywhere, and only a small part of the cloak behind her was left. Large areas were exposed in many places, revealing her porcelain white skin. It can be called a welfare section, especially the pair of little white rabbits that made Su-Chen a little dizzy. Before the attack, a blinding effect was applied to Su-Chen. Are all Asgardians so sweet-mouthed nowadays? Odin. Hela looked at Odin, who was wrapped in the destroyer, and said disdainfully. He is not one of us Asgardians. You still regard me as one of your own. Hela said in surprise. It's normal for Hela to be surprised. After all, a person can help you conquer the country and conquer half of the world, and then be ruthlessly abandoned by his own people. Will you still regard him as one of your own? It would be a good thing if he is not reduced to ashes. Are you still talking to him about your own people? Talk about yarn. Earthlings. Earthlings also have their own magician. Su-Chen didn't take out his two iconic swords, and he was wearing a magician robe, so it was normal for him to be recognized as a magician. After all, a discerning eye can see the restrictions on Su-Chen's magician robe. So you should be lucky when Su-Chen strips off your clothes and fights with you again. This proves that Su-Chen has no intention of taking advantage of you. Yes, people on Earth also have magicians, and they are very strong. Su-Chen puts on a pair of sunglasses to block the opponent's blinding effect. Hela glanced at Su-Chen, her face full of disdain. She was just a coward magician. Are you a coward? There are countless defensive restrictions engraved on your clothes. Hela not only knows Odin's divine power, but she is also still proficient in her mother's magic. Especially the ancestral kidney knife. The essence of magician is to challenge head-on. If you are so cowardly, you are obviously unqualified. Bad review. Really, it's really ridiculous. It is said to be the weakest existence in the 9 realms and needs Asgard's protection. Even a land I don't like, one of my soldiers can rank you. Now a little magician is uttering arrogant words in front of your queen. Kneel down, and I will spare your life later and give you a chance to kneel down and lick the queen. Su-Chen pulled his ears and flicked them on Odin's destroyer. Odin, your daughter is so arrogant, why hasn't she been beaten to death until now? Odin, no one can beat her. Odin revealed countless embarrassments in one word. Yes, my daughter was so arrogant. She should have been the target of siege. Why wasn't she beaten to death? Those who wanted to beat her to death were beaten to death by her. He. Odin, you are so good. Quote. A look of sullenness flashed in Hela's eyes, and she tried hard to convince herself to give Su-Chen a chance to live. Since the other party didn't know how to cherish it, she had no choice but to kill him. The same goes for her father Odin. Hela reached out and stroked her black hair with both hands, and the long hanging hair immediately turned into ferocious horns, a symbol of death. By the way, what brand of hairspray did you use? Is the styling effect better than that of the dragon warrior next door? Even King Aizen's hairspray is not as effective as yours. Without saying a word, Hela immediately took out 2 strengthening kidney knives and rushed towards Su-Chen and Odin. Not to be outdone, Su-Chen activated his alchemy and also instantly condensed 2 big swords. The joy of fire, the sorrow of frost. Hela is worthy of helping Odin conquer the 9 realms. As a female assassin, her strength is not weak. He was evenly matched with Su-Chen, and with his double daggers, he fought back and forth with Su-Chen. It's actually technically on par with Su-Chen's random hacking skills, up and down. Hela glanced at Su-Chen with interest. Boy, I approve of you. Odin, you have found a very good helper. Odin raised his gun and stabbed Hela in the face. Hela smiled disdainfully and then retreated. Then a sharp blade shot out quickly from her hands, with undisguised murderous intent, piercing Odin's vital points all over his body. These sharp blades are condensed with Hela's pure magic power, and a faint aura of death is condensed on them. Even the strong fleshy bodies of Asgardians are difficult to heal after being injured. Fortunately, with the blessing of the Destroyer, it is difficult for normal attacks to cause damage. Moreover, Odin's spear skills are also good. Facing the dense rain of swords, he can dance the eternal spear to the point where it cannot penetrate. Hela is indeed very strong, and this is not her strongest state yet. His strength will gradually increase after he returns to Asgard. Maybe this is why he was sealed in this inhospitable place by Odin, and the only exit is still on the earth. And why was she sent out to fight and suppress her when she was young? Maybe it was because he had become too strong while staying in Asgard. Odin was worried that his old age would not be able to surpass his speed of becoming stronger, so he let him go out to fight. In the end, the world was conquered, and later she was tortured and killed. Su Chen felt that Hela was not worth it. They say that when father and son, female, soldiers go into battle, each one of them will be beaten so hard. Once Hela remembered that she had such a father, Hela no longer even thought about beating Su Chen, and directly faced Odin with a fierce attack. I saw his hands spread out, and the green energy turned into mist and spread out from behind the half-cloak, then divided into several strands and penetrated into the ground and disappeared. Just when Su Chen thought she was just concave, the ground shook slightly, and violent vibrations came from the sword canyon. Countless steel thorns emerged from the ground, which was not on the same level as the sword rain just now. This is the enhanced version of 10,000 swords returning to the sect. Su Chen, I'm not paying you to watch a show. Under the steel helmet of the Destroyer, Odin couldn't help but pursed his lips, feeling a little embarrassed when Hela exploded. Unexpectedly, more than 1,000 years later, Hela could grow independently to this extent. But think about it, being locked up in this inhospitable place and not going crazy for so long means either you have a strong heart or you are a pervert. Judging from the other party's mental state, he doesn't look like a pervert. Moreover, it has been more than 1,000 years, and the other person's fingers are still healthy. It is obvious that the other person has other hobbies in his spare time. So it's no surprise that it has become stronger based on the original. Besides, doesn't Asgard become more awesome as it gets older? Unless Odin admits that this guy is not your biological child. Hela stood on the sharp mountain and threw out several sharp blades, quill needles. Su Chen was also ready to take action. He made a fist with one hand and extended his palm with both hands. Ice-shape magic. Yes, I still remember that I am a magician. The same cold air was raging, and countless icicles rose from the ground and were neatly arranged on Su Chen's head. Just wait for Su Chen to wave and you can attack them all. Dark clouds cover the roof and cover the sky. You seem to be very powerful, and... Hela licked her dry lips, her lips glowing with excitement. You are not from Asgard. What benefits did Odin give you to help him? Why don't you help me? We joined forces to become Odin. Odin, am I that kind of person? Odin gave money, after all. Su Chen raised his hand and prepared to shoot the summoned ice edge at Hela. Odin's worried heart was relieved when he saw this. It seems that Su Chen is quite upright. But the next sentence, if you want me to help you, you have to pay more. Odin's face fell instantly. Hela grinned, interesting mortal. What is interesting is not only the strength, but also the behavior of this person is quite interesting. In the eyes of this person who has been closed for more than 1,000 years, this is quite interesting. 0. Hela definitely thinks Su Chen is joking. A strong person should have the magnanimity of a strong person. Betrayal is a joke at most. Think of it as just teasing yourself. It's been a long time since I met someone who dared to tease me. The last person who dared to tease me has now grown into a world tree. What she doesn't know is that Su Chen really doesn't see the joke. As long as the price is right, who is Odin? I'll dig up Odin's father's ancestral grave for you too. Hela knew she had to teach Su Chen and Odin a lesson. Hela waved her hand and pressed down, and countless black weapons flew quickly like a shower. From a distance, it looks like an airtight black torrent surging down, deep and oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. The black blade tore through the void, just like a pair of scissors cutting through cloth. Wherever it passed, a black curtain opened, swallowing up all things with boundless darkness. The other side is not to be outdone. the ice edges condensed with high concentration of energy are backed by the ice and snow world. The ice edges split and overlap in the air, transforming into thousands of forces. The black sword that covered the sky and the sun rushed out in the direction of Odin Suchen, colliding with the ice-blue torrent of ice. After the crisp sounds of countless metal twists and breaks, the weapons scattered and scattered. The inexhaustible ice edges fell from the sky like summer hail after receiving the impact. This is a competition between quantity and quality. The fierce confrontation continued. The collision between the weapon blade and the ice edge was like two behemoths fighting in the sky. The killing was so shocking that the world was shaken. A large amount of battlefield garbage is generated from time to time. Seeing this, Hela raised her arms high, gathered enough strength, and pressed down again. The black weapon that burst out shot out a step higher, and now even if it is 1 against 2 points and 1, it is still easy to do. As expected of the former Asgard god of war. During the years of Wu Jing's imprisonment, Hela fantasized about meeting Odin countless times, but she knew that the possibility of this was quite small. Because he can only get out of here if Odin dies. And Odin probably won't come to her until he dies. The accumulation of hatred and loneliness for more than 1,000 years gradually confirmed her desire to kill Odin with her own hands. Although she knew that the process was difficult and accompanied by pain, she thought it would be more comfortable to give up. But in the end, he defeated loneliness with his tenacious will, which resulted in her magical power being improved. It's just that I rarely have time today to prepare to sing a few songs to relieve the recent tension. Unexpectedly, she actually perceived Odin, the old father. I finally got the chance to tear my scumbag father apart with my bare hands. I'm so happy. But now we have encountered a little obstacle. Hela's ultimate move, which he had saved for thousands of years, was so powerful that the ice crystal curtain was suppressed and at a disadvantage in less than a moment. Hela then smiled again, and fired 10 identical black javelins from behind, pointing directly at her old father Odin. Rumble. These dozen javelins are completely superior to the weapons just now in terms of quality. He rushed through the glacier curtain in the blink of an eye. Each of these javelins is thicker than the real Odin. If one of them is pierced, Odin will definitely lose his life. Fortunately, the destroyer's automatic main protection function was activated, and he dodged this shot in a dangerous manner. Still, this is not enough. Next. Chu-2-2-2. Destruction will be twisted into twists, and these spears will almost pierce Odin into quill. Hela waved her hand and Odin was thrown away. She found that although Odin's posture was weird, he did not seem to have received any substantial damage. Odin Ebbe fell not far away from Suchen, and Suchen quickly helped him up. The spear passed by the destroyer's armor, which meant that the destroyer was slightly damaged, but nothing else happened. Hey, wait a minute, slow down, my waist is flashing. Odin, who was still majestic before, is now lying down with one hand on his waist and the other hand holding the eternal spear. Let's just say that the destroyer is a bit naughty for an old man. Don't you believe it? Doesn't it look like you're flashing your waist? Although Odin escaped the damage from Hela, he did not escape the damage from the destroyer. The destroyer has now returned to its original shape from its previous twist. Odin's body also recovered, but this hand was still covering his waist. This is an old problem. If I hadn't used too much force to make the little man yesterday, I would. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Leave me alone, come out first Hela. Odin's face turned pale, which was why he was not discovered in the destroyer. On the other side, Hela's face was pale and she took 2 steps back. Moreover, the originally broken tights seemed to have been condensed by her own divine power, which caused the small holes to become larger due to intense consumption. Fortunately, Suchen wore sunglasses and was not tempted by the other party's almost reflective skin. This dimension not only imprisons Hela's freedom, but also cuts off his connection with Asgard. In addition to the natural growth of divine power, the divine power consumed in battle cannot be quickly returned to the throne. Just wait until Hela's magical power is exhausted. If the battlefield is changed to Asgard, it will not be so easy for Suchen to capture her. If Asgard is regarded as Hell and Hela is regarded as Mephisto, Mephisto in Hell is not easy to kill. An almost endless supply of power, unless it has the power to destroy the world. Otherwise, Odin looked at the miserable Hela in front of him, with a trace of unbearability flashing in his eyes. After all, she is still her daughter. Hela, give up. Let this magician re-establish the barrier. This will be good for you and everyone. Ha ha ha, it's really funny. Odin, how did you get everything you have? Don't you know? Hela shot out a long sword from the palm of her hand, holding the sword with both hands and eyes blazing. You have been fabricating lies your whole life. Do you think I will believe it? Reseal it. Do you want me to stay here all the time? When a king takes over the world, he will kill his heroes. This is the truth, Hela realized. If Odin wasn't just slightly stronger than her and couldn't kill him, why would she be locked up in a place like this? Hela, those who are too strong are easy to break. What I want to build is an eternal Asgard. Under your leadership, Asgard can only destroy the country. Odin is going to persuade her hard. If it succeeds, there may be no need to kill her, and it will give Asgard another high-level combat experience. Asgard without me is going the wrong way. Hela could see why Odin didn't take his child with him. It wasn't just because of the danger, but because his son was useless. He even asked for help from the weakest people in the 9 worlds. What does this mean? The glory of Asgard is no longer there. Now, as long as he steps out of this prison, he can create a new Asgard with his own hands. The world will bow at her feet. Hela's words stopped Odin. Indeed, if he died, Asgard would be handed over to Thor now. It may not be long before Asgard is destroyed. Leave it to Loki. Perhaps we can hold on for a while, but with Loki's reckless and show-off character, it will only prolong the destruction. But even so, it is not advisable to hand Asgard into the hands of a tyrant like you. Odin is ready for a life-and-death battle, and he has almost done everything he needs to explain. Hela must die. Ha ha ha. Odin, you are ridiculous. But do you really think you can keep me? Odin underestimated Hela after all. Do you think this is a fight to the death? Are you looking at it now? Hela dropped the sword in her hand and walked away thinking about Suchen and Odin. During this period, Hela's body slowly dissipated like a fluorescent light. Odin, do you think I only know how to kill? Don't forget, I also learned spells from the Queen Magician, the number 1 magician in the 9 realms. Turning around suddenly, Odin realized that Hela had appeared at the entrance to this space. Goodbye, father. Oh ho. Seeing Hela walk out of this space, and conveniently put a lock on this space, Suchen and Odin were speechless. Fortunately, this lock is not very difficult, and it is not as troublesome as the barrier that imprisons Hela, but it will not be broken for a while. I just wanted to remind you. You were playing too fiercely and couldn't catch up. Wanda, who was playing cow on the side, jumped out. Originally, he still had the function of eyes. But seeing that 2 big men were actually beating a woman, how could this be tolerated? Not interfering is the best help, so he also learned Hawkeye's borderline OB ability. The workload will be doubled when I go back, not 5 times. Suchen spread his hands towards Odin, indicating that I have punished him, and you can decide what to do next. Odin can't see his expression, there's no perspective. With a touch of Suchen's space ring, a pair of chairs and a changsha appeared in front of Suchen and Odin. I glanced at Wanda, and then tea sets appeared in front of her. Odin, don't be angry. Take a sip of tea to calm down. This tea is good for your body and strong, it can repair your sprain. If you don't drink, break the barrier quickly. Every minute you stay here now, Asgard will be in danger for 1 more minute. You may not know how powerful his ability is for cleaning up stray fish. Odin said anxiously and annoyed. You know, this restriction is difficult to deal with. It will take a day at the earliest. Besides, it is set by Asgard's divine power. Wouldn't it be faster for you to lift it? Hela has not been a freeloader for more than 1,000 years. Her skill tree is off-center. I can't figure it out. So this is the god of Asgard. Suchen and Wanda looked at each other. Stop talking nonsense, you are better at mastering magic right now. You can solve it. There is enough time. Odin tilted his head, wondering if Odin in the armor was blushing. If Odin were to solve it, it would probably take a year. While having a cup of tea, Suchen cracked the seal with great interest, but he didn't expect that Hela would trick him in the end. I thought the other party really wanted to share my brand name with me. Odin, download. Hela ran away. What are you going to do next? Suchen, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Things in Asgard are not so easy to get, so we have to go back to Asgard and help me deal with Hela without causing a big mistake. Odin was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and said seriously. Are you sure, Odin, is it appropriate for you to make such a joke? Then what do you think we should do? I'm helpless too. One day is enough for Hela to do a lot of things. The most dangerous situation is that he returns to God's domain. After returning to God's realm, can Hela still fight? Infinite mana renewal, the strength is getting stronger every minute. How to play this? Odin, we are old businessmen, and we don't tell secrets. You know, if Hela goes to God's realm, you will know her strength even if I don't tell you. Yes, Odin understands this too. That's great. According to the previous price, you have to pay more. Odin was speechless. He could add more money, but he didn't have much money left. Only the crutch in your hand is worth a little money, and you won't end up snatching the old man's crutch. Earth's magicians are so disrespectful of the elderly and the young. But if you add more money, it doesn't seem like you have no bargaining chips. Su Chen, we have cooperated very happily in the past. I think we can continue to cooperate in the future. So what do you think of my daughter? Su Chen felt that he was hearing hallucinations. Maybe he understood what Odin meant, but maybe he didn't. It was just an overthinking. But when he thought about it, the thought of his own death immediately came to mind, and Su Chen's eyes were shocked. Loki. Don't. It's impossible. I have no interest in people like Loki. There was fear in Su Chen's eyes, and she almost couldn't hold on to the magic in her hand. What are you thinking? Loki is already married to Thor. As an old father, how could I betray my son? I am not a father and a daughter. Ha, what you say is better than what you sing. I don't know who said it just now to see how my daughter is doing. Su Chen rubbed his temples, almost confused by Odin. Daughter, your daughter is already married, wait a minute. You're not talking about Hela, are you? Odin narrowed his eyes slightly and held the eternal spear tightly. Su Chen magician is different. He guessed it so quickly. Odin, I'm going to kill you, what are you thinking about? Su Chen's eyes sparkled, and he was about to slam the table and get angry, but then he thought about it. As the old saying goes, people are not ignorant, that's probably not what it meant. Maybe I understood it wrong. No, you understand correctly. What do you think of my daughter? Is she very big? After saying that, Odin opened the destroyer's mask and raised an eyebrow at Su Chen. Odin, am I that kind of person? Odin's smile gradually became kinder, which made Su Chen feel creepy all over. I'm talking about age. What are you thinking? Oh, I'm talking about age too. Su Chen, I know you know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean by knowing that I know what you mean. So just say it again. The atmosphere gradually became awkward. This was also the first time Odin promoted your daughter like this. The last time he promoted his daughter like this was when Zeus promoted Athena. So as long as you are not embarrassed, others will be embarrassed. If you ask me to say it again, I will say it again. Su Chen, what do you think of my daughter Hela? Su Chen roared and shook his head like a rattle. It's not that good. Hela is really not that good. Her clothes are not covering her body, and she wears smoky makeup. She doesn't look like a good family at first sight. And she has a bad temper. Otherwise, why would she be locked up here by you? What Su Chen said made sense, and Odin couldn't refute it for a while. But there is a smile that all men understand. Actually, Hela still has many advantages. For example, she is also 90/60ths 90. 90/60ths 90. Yeah, didn't you see? Yeah, I didn't see that you could tell. Wanda, yeah, I didn't realize that you could all see it either. Outside world. After more than 1,500 years, Hela finally smelled freedom. Although she should enjoy her freedom first, she knew that the lock she had placed on the dimension was not firm. As for using space ability to escape, this is impossible. There are rules in the dimensional space that suppress the use of space power. Otherwise Odin wouldn't have chosen it as a cage. And now Hela is not her own face, but Odin wearing the destroyer. As for his face, it was revealed that his expression was 99,999% identical to Odin's. Coupled with the tired look in his eyes, no one would believe it if it wasn't Odin. Although this illusion is just that, what you need to know is that Hela has not seen Odin for more than 1,000 years. How can she imitate Odin's character so vividly? This is only possible because of Hela's hatred. She has imitated Odin carved through time. This proves how much she hates Odin. Heimdall opens Bifrost. After Odin, Hela, finished speaking, a colorful red light descended, and then sent Heim to the Asgard realm. The light dissipated, and a graceful figure appeared in front of Bifrost's door. A tall and slender figure walked out of the Bifrost, illuminating Hela's whole body. The tight-fitting black leather armor with green patterns and the originally torn leather jacket also appeared when Heim's feet landed on Asgard. Repair completed. Her long black hair, tied with a hair band around her horns, hangs down behind her. It was quite a cool appearance. The queen was full of temperament, but there was no applause. Heimdall, a doorman and Asgardian, looked solemn. Heimdall didn't speak, but just picked up the long sword of the Bifrost device. Since this woman appears here, Li Gong's crusade plan is considered bankrupt. Odin's plan failed, and now Asgard has to face Hela's wrath. It's been more than 1,000 years, but I didn't expect that you would still be guarding the gate, Heimdall. I just wanted to try it, but I didn't expect that it actually happened. Hela just used magic to confuse her. Whether it succeeds or not depends on fate. If that doesn't work, she will use the most stupid way to use her divine power to fly to Asgard. It would be uncomfortable to think about that journey without the Kaedu airship. But it looks like fate is on her side. Hela slowly thought about Heimdall and walked towards him. Seeing the nervousness of the other party, he knew that he was an old friend. That's why he didn't kill him. If it were a new face and the sword, Hela would probably be killed directly by 2 flying darts. Hela, Odinson, what do you want to do when you come back? Heimdall stared at Hela. If the other party was slightly hostile, he would have no choice but to fight to the death. Although the chance of defeat is relatively high. After all, I am also the first heir to the throne of Asgard and the military commander. What happened to me coming back? And I only came back with something that should have been mine. Memu said, Asgard already has new virtues, and there is no need for such a cruel trio like you. Hela sneered twice. Really? I want to see who wants to snatch the throne from me. Heimdall remained unmoved and stood in front of Hela with his sword. Who gave you the courage, Liang Baru? Get out of the way. Since you are an old man and are loyal to me, I will spare your life. Heimdall, it seems you are looking for death. After saying this, Hela pulled out a kidney knife. Asgard Palace. Odin, the king of gods, left for no reason and was sent to an unknown planet in the future, leaving Asgard leaderless. This is when Loki shows off his power. There are no tigers in the mountains and monkeys are called kings. As for Tony, he is still basking in the sun, saying that he needs to supplement calcium to increase the activity of tadpoles. As long as this thing can be done, Loki can at least be quiet for a long time, so why sacrifice the dominance for such a small amount of time? You have to make up for it later. It's been less than half a month since Odin left the Earth that Odin went to after giving his explanation. Loki proved with facts that he was not a qualified king, and the giants of Jotunheim would be a loser in her hands. Loki was very ambitious, but when she really took power, she became negligent. It was as if she had reached her goal in life and began to seek pleasure the most. Apart from the mechanical happiness with her brother, Asgard was left in a mess by her management. There was singing and dancing every day, and people began to enjoy themselves. Complete loss of life skills. Maybe this is how the Asgardians ended up doing only fishing to make ends meet in Avengers Alliance IV, apart from fighting. You must know that the Asgard people are not weak in technology. At least hundreds of thousands of years ahead of the Earth. In the end, he had to make a living by fishing just to amuse his father. Today is another day to watch musicals. Apart from boom, a figure fell from the sky and landed on the stage of the musical. Quote. It's Heimdall. Then a figure slowly descended from the sky. This person was Hela. Hela glanced down and saw Loki, who looked like stars over the moon. What a sign. Is this Odin's seed? Are you the current crown prince of Asgard? Hela didn't see any bright spots in Loki, but he showed that very strange beauty. I'm not. The one behind you is. After saying that, I looked back. I saw Brother Zhui making a shining appearance with a hammer. Hela also knew that the protagonist was coming. After all, this hammer was passed down from a single line, and those who could hold it were either powerful or had the status of a prince. But this guy, too weak. Heimdall, who was at Hela's feet, shouted in a weak voice, "Run, you can't beat me." But Thor didn't hear it. After all, Heimdall was beaten to a pulp and his voice was almost faint. And Thor was so confused yesterday that he threw the hammer away instead of taking turns with it. Hela used the hammer and picked it up with her own strength. "Poor hammer, you have the wrong master again." Hela smiled slightly and held the hammer head with one hand. "Give it a squeeze." No response. "What do you want to do? Mjolnir is not something you can destroy." Thor laughed. Then Hela lost her temper and couldn't help but hold it in her mouth. Then the other hand also grasped the hammer head, and then turned it. "This is impossible." The hammer groaned. Boom. Odin is alive and blessed with divine power. He can't crush it with one hand, so he gets two. This is impossible. Thor looked at all this in shock. "This is the only hammer I have left. My little cute brother, you don't even know what possibility is. Little brother, you don't know anything about power. The Meow Hammer is what I left over from playing with your sister. The Meow Hammer is the nickname I gave her. You know, this hammer has been with me for countless days and nights." After Hela crushed Mjolnir, she looked at the pile of debris and saw that the power of thunder quickly dissipated. This doesn't seem to be mine, right?" Hela glanced at it and said, it didn't matter whether it was the one she used before. Now one. Hela immediately magically formed a sharp mountain made of a sharp sword at her feet, looking down at the people below. "I noticed that except for Heimdall, you Yping know nothing about me. Then let me introduce myself. I am Hela. Odinson is the first descendant of Odin and the leader of the Asgard Legion. The first heir to the throne. Goddess of death, Hela. It's not that you don't even grasp the essence of divine power. What kind of god are you?" Hela glanced at Thor, who was still staring at the wreckage of Mjolnir with contempt, and said, "I am Thor." Even though he was physically weak, he was still full of energy when he said these words. "This prince is a bit weak. This universe speaks by strength, a symbol of absolute power. No one dares to challenge our authority. But Odin stopped at the 9 realms. Our journey should be the stars and the sea. We want to rule everything. Follow me, and we will restore the male-female style. Kneel down. Join me on this journey of glory." Hela started giving a speech as soon as she came up. Maybe this is the leader's routine. If you can't give a speech, then use your fists. Just like the most powerful illusion in Naruto will of fire. Those who were not brainwashed were all sent to Danzo Nakage for transformation. But the illusion of brainwashing doesn't end after a few hours. Who can be fooled by just a few minutes? "You are my sister." Thor looked confused. "Not only do you have a younger sister, but you also have an older sister." Thor, what are you thinking about? You already have a sister. Whoever I am, did you hear what I said? I thought what I was talking about was very confusing. It seems that after more than 1,000 years of working behind closed doors, the ability of language organizations has declined. Hey, if that's the case, let's kill them all. Hela put her hands on her head, and countless horns immediately appeared on her head, and even her smoky makeup became a bit thicker. It seems that even Hela knows that smoky makeup increases combat effectiveness by 80%. Boom boom boom. Tens of thousands of troops wearing helmets and armor stepped out in neat formations and filled with murderous intent. They are Asgard warriors loyal to Hela. They are the defenders of Asgard. Seeing this kind of armored soldiers, Hela secretly thought it was a pity that these brave and capable warriors should have surrendered to him and enjoyed eternal admiration, but now they can only become the dead souls under her sword. The finished display was wearing heavy armor and quickly formed an array. Some of the 3 warriors at the front are holding up swords, and some are holding bolas, and there is no sif in them. As for the reason, I was disheartened because I didn't become the princess. I didn't know which planet to go to and become the king of the mountain. The 3 warriors raised their hands and waved their hands. Tens of thousands of them marched forward with their spears and swords in unison, maintaining their formation and launching a charge. For the honor of Asgard, protect His Highness the Prince. Clang. Although Hela is only one person, she is not weak at all. Do you also want to dance? I am the dance king of Asgard. Hela laughed wildly and rushed towards the defenders. In hand-to-hand encounters with countless sharp blades, Hela made the weapons with one hand, which was similar to the Infinity Sword. Make a sharp blade at random, and with your superb physical skills, you can basically kill a child with one knife. Che, so many people can't beat a girl who is over 1,500 years old. I feel a little uneasy. One person completely crushed the Asgard defenders in his aura. It's such a hindrance, I'm tired of playing with it. Hela summoned huge amounts of sword blades, then stood on the sharp mountain, threw out several sharp blades, and pierced the incoming warriors. No soldier is his enemy. Even the 3 warriors are just hanging on. Countless weapons rose into the sky, like soldiers ready to go, arrayed neatly above Hela's head. Dark clouds cover the roof and cover the sky. Fire a volley at the Asgard defenders. Boom. Sure enough, under the rule of that hypocritical Odin, the quality of Asgard's army has seriously declined. If it had been left in the past, at least a few more people would have survived. The next step is to deal with the Prince of Asgard, who is my younger brother. Hela teased and walked over to Thor. During the melee of 100,000 troops, Thor wanted to make a sneak attack, but was kicked away by Hela, who also gave Thor a kidney knife. When Loki saw Hela crushing Mjolnir with both hands, he knew that this man was invincible and was not an enemy that his brother and sister could defeat. And after the previous battle, Loki knew that the other party was definitely his own. After all, his attack methods were similar to his own. Definitely taught by a mom. Jotunheim, you picked it up. You must evacuate, but you can't do it alone. I didn't expect that she would become so strong after pulling her hair back. Maybe if I don't give her a chance to pull my hair back, I'll defeat her on my own. That's right, I didn't expect you to notice it. This little girl, who are you? I'm your brother. No, I'm your sister. Look. After speaking, Loki fired a kidney knife at Hela. But Hela easily dodged it. Oh, interesting. Too bad it's too weak. After saying that, he lifted Loki up and said, I don't know who this little face is following. Is it the queen? Bang. When Loki attracted Hela's attention, a fist struck Hela from behind. Hela rolled her eyes. The horns on her head were not decorations. Hela slapped her brother away with her backhand. My brother, you won't be sensible if you don't fight. My younger brother is still young and still has the value of shaping, so I'll keep him for now. Let Loki go. Thor slowly got up from the ground, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and roared at Hela. Only the incompetent make a sound like a barking dog. After Hela finished speaking, she did not use the weapon. Instead, she formed a hilt and hit Thor on the back of the head with a thud. He rolled his eyes and fell straight to the ground, unable to stand up again. Su Chen. Oh, no wonder the fingers are still there. Loki was heartbroken when he saw Thor being knocked unconscious. He was only one step away from the plan. It's now, Loki shouted, and then a dagger appeared in his hand. A knife pierced Hela's body. Hela didn't react and ate it. It hurt. Loki's hand loosened its hold on Loki's neck. Loki immediately ran to Thor's side after escaping the danger. Heimdall, who was in danger on the other side, slowly recovered with his last breath. He has also seen the latest battle situation and knows that no one in Asgard can beat Hela now. The only way is to take advantage of the last chance to send Thor away. At some point during the battle, Loki and Heimdall locked eyes, and a plan was instantly formed. Take advantage of the opportunities created by Loki. Heimdall summons Bifrost for final strength. The Father of God gave me dark magic for the last time. The power of Heimdall gasped and used his last bit of strength to control the Guardian Sword to send Thor away. Destination: Earth. But when his eyes saw through the 9 realms, he seemed to see something incredible. Fark. Heimdall was so angry that he almost died. What a scam. Hela watched Bifrost send Thor away. She wanted to educate her brother before he grew up, but Heimdall ruined it. You shouldn't have done this. Hela looked at Heimdall condescendingly. I believe he will come back to avenge us. Really, how stupid is he? Yeah, just how stupid of him. Heimdall felt cold. There are thousands of Marvel cartoons, but Asgard accounts for half of them. Guardians of Galaxy are the other half. No, he is a fool. What makes Heimdall most uncomfortable is why he sent Loki and Thor away together. These two are responsible for at least 2/3 of Asgard's laughter. No wonder there will be an accident in the end. There must have been a strong chemical change between Loki and Thor. From now on, he will be the deputy leader who advocates that Loki and Thor separate the support group. The leader is Sif. Seeing Heimdall's expression of despair, Hela lost interest. Death is not the end for me. These people killed by me will become my warriors. If you are stronger than them, you have to live. Hela laughed, and immediately condensed a weapon in her hand, and cut off Heimdall's guardian's sword with one sword. Then Hela ran to Odin's treasure house. Who took away my eternal fire, and that's all that's left. Hela shouted the eternal fire, which was only as big as a palm, and the anger in her heart rose. The half-dead Heimdall was finally controlled by Hela's death power, and he promptly obeyed Hela's instructions and became Hela's subordinate. It's Su Chen, the magician who went to your cage with Odin. What a serious magician. What do you mean? His superb melee skills don't look like a magician at all, except for wearing magician robes. Hela thought for a while and said to Heimdall, since it's him, I have to make preparations. I need to prepare a good meeting gift next time we meet. Hela reached out and grabbed a small ball of the eternal fire. It's small, but it's barely enough. Hela split open the chamber of eternal sleep beneath Odin's treasure house with a sword. Looking around, Hela immediately discovered her favorite pet. When she saw the body of her pet, Hela not only shouted, my dearest Fenris, what have they done to you? Why are you so thin? Did they not feed you? Hela cried out to the giant wolf corpse in distress. It doesn't matter, I'm here and I will feed you well. Hela opened her hands, and the green energy of the eternal fire's death power turned into mist and dispersed from all sides, then divided into several streams and penetrated into the ground and disappeared. With the eternal flame, you are reborn at this moment. Wake up, my army. With Hela's great power, all the warriors in the tomb woke up, including the Fenris wolf, and all the warriors killed by Hela were resurrected and stood up. No wonder Hela and Odin were able to fight 8 and regain the 9 realms. Hela's contribution was indispensable. Is it okay to support war with war? The undead army attacks. On the other side, Loki and Thor, who were sent to Earth by Heimdall, seemed to have encountered some problem. In the Bifrost tunnel, they seemed to hit something. Under normal circumstances, there is basically nothing in the universe that can block Bifrost's teleportation. Even Dragon's body can be easily torn into pieces. Even if you encounter any meteorite fragments along the way in the universe, the meteorites can be easily blasted into slag. But today, when Thor and Loki were racing on the Bifrost, they encountered something that even the Bifrost couldn't tear apart. No, I can't say it's something. It's a big guy, a big green guy. Hulk. Loki looked shocked that he could meet Hulk here. They were also shocked. It's okay to meet them on Earth, but this is the universe. If you can bump into Hulk, it's amazing. Hulk is also very depressed. Since he is in the universe, he will die of dehydration as soon as he changes back to Banner. There is no other way, Hulk can only remain like this. At the same time, he hated Quicksilver. It's okay to beat him on Earth, why bring him to the universe? With super acceleration, Hulk has been drifting in the universe. Until I bumped into this colorful light. In the universe, Hulk had no place to rely on, and then he ran straight into Tony and Loki. A sharp pain woke Thor up. Who am I and where am I? Why do I hurt so much? Then Thor, along with Hulk and Loki, knocked away from Bifrost. Sakaar, the garbage dump of space. A shadowy figure wearing a red cloak descended from the sky. This man is Thor, and now he is separated from Loki and Hulk. At this time, a spaceship crashed over, and a man walked out holding a bottle of something that he didn't know was wine or soy sauce, and stumbled across. Are you mine? Thor glanced at it. Not bad. I am Thor of Asgard, I am not a commodity, I have someone I like. Thor explained, I don't care about you. After saying that, the woman threw a small device onto Thor's neck. Then press a device. Thor was stunned, and died on the ground. After a long day of waiting, Su Chen finally came out of the dimension space with Odin. I finally came out. I don't know how Hela stayed there for more than 1,000 years. Su Chen breathed in the free air. By the way, he perceived the Earth and found that the Earth was still the same as before he left. What's going on? Didn't Hela invade the Earth? Su Chen was greatly puzzled. Could it be that Ji Yu had taken action? Did you tuck Hela, and then sealed it? Su Chen thought she was going to have a big fight with Hela, but she didn't expect this outcome. Odin also looked confused. His current thoughts were similar to Su Chen's. He should die and the Ancient One took action. Otherwise, how could the earth be so peaceful? If a battle broke out, with Su Chen's backup Icarus, the noise would not be small. Su Chen opened the mirror space to check, and found that there was still no movement. It seems that the Ancient One magician has helped you solve this problem. Su Chen said to Odin. It seems that I was right to establish diplomatic relations with the Ancient One magician before. I didn't expect that he helped me get rid of Hela. Odin's eyes looked a little lonely. You must know that after all, the other party is still your daughter. Even if you want to hit her, you can fight her and send her away. But after all, it was still a piece of meat that fell off the back of his hand. You know, Odin himself also collected infinite gems back then, and was only one step away from Soul Gem in the end. I even walked in front of the Soul Gem, but in the end I didn't get the gem because I couldn't bring myself to do it. If it were now, Odin would have wanted to kick all 3 children down. After all, it's all too boring. Although I regret it now, there is no way to look back. I am too old to compete with Su Chen. But now when I think that my heart problem has been solved, I can't help but scream to the sky. Ha 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 ha. Su Chen, thank you again for your help. Odin was in a happy mood and felt that he was in good condition. It seemed that he could live for another year or 2. Okay, now that the trouble has been solved, you should leave quickly. Su Chen started to irritate people quickly. Su Chen was not in a good mood. After all, he was a grown man and a big light bulb was shut together. He was unhappy just thinking about it. I could have lived a world of 2 with Wanda. As a result, this old man couldn't understand his eyes, so he came closer. He said that he was looking at Su Chen's progress to see if he was cutting corners or anything. Okay, good luck. Heimdall, open Bifrost. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Sorry, maybe Heimdall has some time and things are delayed. After all, goalkeepers have to go to the toilet too. Odin said awkwardly, I'll wait for a while, he can hear me. Heimdall, holy area. Heimdall is kneeling in front of Hela, who is on the throne wearing nail polish. King, Odin of Earth is really calling me, let me open the Bifrost. Oh, really? It came out so quickly. It seems that I need to continue to learn my sealing skills. Hela was unmoved. Now that she was in Asgard, she was basically invincible. Dare Odin come back, then let him have a taste of what society calls a beating. So can he control Bifrost remotely? No, the Guardian Sword is broken, and Odin cannot remotely control Bifrost, but the Eternal Staff in his hand does have a small Bifrost teleportation function. But it will consume a lot of divine power. If it is teleported back, it may not even be able to fight. Heimdall went on to say that although he was very loyal to Odin, he was now controlled by Hela and could not help himself. I can only give Odin my blessing silently in the back of my mind. Don't die, dear, that's really pitiful. My father, he doesn't take good care of himself in his old age, so he has to make some money. In that case, just ignore him. Hela looked at the nail polish in her hand. It was good. She didn't expect that in the more than 1,000 years since she was gone, some civilizations would have advanced to the point of having such a thing as fashion. Although it doesn't help improve your strength, it's really beautiful. Heart of beauty in everyone. Especially since she used a shampoo called Rejoice, now her hair no longer becomes dry and full of oil. After all, Hela hasn't washed her hair in over 1,000 years. After that, her hair became more shiny and silky smooth. I want to make up for the more than 1,500 years I lost. Heimdall sad face degree. 30 minutes have passed. Su Chen was a little impatient waiting. I said, even if it's Chuanxi, it's time to come back at this time. Odin's face was ashen now, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. I have already agreed with the goalkeeper that I have to wait until I come out before opening the Bifrost. It makes no sense that the eyes of Mini can't distinguish between men and women. Wouldn't Heimdall send Hela directly to heaven? And then Asgard fell directly? No way, it's so cheating. In his plan, even if it fails, there is still a buffer from Earth to Asgard. Even if it's not possible, then I'll use other methods to snipe Hela. Unexpectedly, I was transported back to before liberation. Odin looks at Su Chen. What for? I'm not gay. That's not it. I mean, doesn't your Earth have a portal? Can you help me open a space gate and send me to Asgard? Quote. Su Chen was speechless. Looking at the old man Odin, he was a bit arrogant, so it would be better not to offend him, lest anyone say that they do not respect the elderly and care for the young. Su Chen still opened a portal smoothly. The interstellar portal is still very mana intensive, but with Su Chen's mana amount, it can support a small number of targets at this distance. Odin stepped over Bifrost with a red face, and then Su Chen closed the portal. After all, Odin's business has not been settled yet, so he will not participate in this household chores for the time being. After a while, a colorful light appeared on the spot. I saw an old man with cracked armor, blood flying everywhere, and dozens of swords stuck in his body appeared in front of Su Chen. Quote? You are Odin. You weren't beaten by Hela, were you? Odin. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.